Come on, man. Only on Do Champion Network.
Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like if you just won't. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like if you just won't. Buffalo blueprint for analytics and new shit. Check that in hand, mic in his hand. Welcome to the Buffalo blueprint. Everything you need. Everything you need. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like it, you just won't. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like it, you just won't. Buffalo blueprint for analytics and new shit. Jake pen in hand, mic in his hand. Welcome to the Buffalo blueprint. Everything you need. Everything you need.
What is up, everybody? How's it going, Bills Mafia? How's it going tonight? It's week 16 already. 3 games left. I can't believe it. We're already here. It's flown by, it feels like, at least for me. A little sad to get in this part of the season because we know it's winding down, but also excitement of the playoffs and stuff like that's ramping up. So that's the exciting part. We find out the seeding and who we're going to be playing here in a few weeks. I got a good show for you tonight. I'm joined by Pete Collins of the Fox Fellas podcast. He's a New England Patriots content creator. We pre-recorded this morning, so I'll be playing that here in a little bit. We had a great discussion about the state of the Patriots, how we see this game going, some player props, of course, and score predictions. But first, I have my world-famous reverse power rankings update. So we got that cooking for you. And then, I'll let you know what games I'll be watching Sunday and what I'll be following. Not necessarily the best slate for Bills related, but still a pretty good slate, so we'll definitely cover that. Neffy's pretty excited, as always. We'll be doing our show tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. No One to Blame with Neffy and Kevin and myself, and we'll be going over the games, giving you our player props, best bets, parlays, all that good stuff. There's Kevin right there, so definitely tune into that. But first, let me pay the bills with a couple ads. I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Mackenzie Farms and Happy Holiday Tree Farms, for supporting this show. They'd like to share a message with you all this holiday season. Remember when we took pride in the things we built, the things we grew, when we put aside small differences to support one another? We can do it again. It's not as hard as you think. This Christmas, say no to fake trees. Choose a traditional, sustainable, real tree grown by American family farmers in every state. The best way to celebrate Christmas is with a real Christmas tree grown here in America. So this Christmas, don't fake it. Go real. That way you will have a really great Christmas. Hopefully you already have your tree and you bought a real tree, but it's never too late to go sneak out there and get one. Sponsored by the growers of real Christmas trees at Happy Holidays and Mackenzie Tree Farms. Again, I thank them so much for sponsoring the show this season and making it all possible. W Energy is an amazing energy drink that is made with clean ingredients to give you the energy boost you need with no crash. They also offer an electrolyte drink to keep you hydrated. Hit the link in the bio or go to w.gg and use promo code DUE, D-U-E, and get 10% off your purchase. Get to a couple comments. Jesse, of course, always with the bets. Worthy over 39. He had Baltimore plus or minus 6.5. And he has a fake tree, and he's ashamed, as he should be. It's just not the same, man, with the fake one. I did the fake one for a little bit, and I had to go back to real trees, man. There's nothing about the smell. It just screams so much more Christmas. The slate today. Obviously, we wanted to see Kansas City drop that one, but the tough injury to Tank Dell. And too many mistakes, man. I think that was the theme for both teams that lost. A lot of mistakes, not playing sharp. The Steelers as well dropping to Baltimore. They weren't very sharp either. That fumble by by Russell Wilson down in the goal, like around the 5 yard line, inside the 5 yard line. That was brutal. I thought that flipped the whole game. Then Baltimore goes right down the field on like a 95-yard drive and scores his touchdown. I think that really changed things. Nephew with the ref show. Yeah, the Kansas City game was pretty bad. They had a couple of calls that against the Texans that there was just nothing there, nothing at all. They also missed some. They missed that face mask in the Steelers game, and so yeah, it just wasn't the best day. But that's been a common theme for a while now, especially this year. The refs have been pretty brutal. Let's dive into. I guess we'll touch on the college football a little bit. Jesse, what was your action for today? I had chalk across the board, and it's looking pretty good for that. So I carried that over with chalk from yesterday as well. So Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas. Parlayed those all together. It's pretty easy right now in the way they have the college football playoff set up. I think next week as well, it looks like it's going to shake out the same way. I don't think we're going to see very many good games. Maybe Ohio State, Oregon. That's probably going to be the one, right? But the other games, I think you might see the higher seed favored. Yeah, OSU -7. Notre Dame, Indy under, yeah. I had Notre Dame as well in my parlay. That was too easy. Easy money. All fave, moneyline parlay. Yep, that's what I did. It's too easy. Hopefully we get some more action, some better games next week. But hey, I'll take predictable wins too, right? That works. Let's dive into the NFL slate. I'll do the reverse power rankings, everyone's favorite. This is how I see the teams right now, including injuries, things like that. So it's not projection, it's not roster. It's right now. If they were to line up against somebody, how do we think they would do? If you disagree, feel free to comment. And yeah, I'll take the feedback one way or the other, good or bad. So 32, I have the Giants. Just a disaster, right? I mean, we'll see Drew Lock at quarterback. Great. Maybe he'll throw another pick six. That defense, though, especially run defense, is just terrible. Giants at 32. We'll see if Dable and Schoen survive. The Raiders at 31. I like them a little better with AOC, but can the dude play one full game without getting hurt? We shall see. I don't put too much in that. The defense has been, I guess, okay, especially with Crosby out, but the offense is just not good. Sorry, Kevin. Jacksonville at 30, little Maction. He's been slinging a little. He's been turning the ball over. That Jacksonville defense, though, is terrible. They can't stop anybody. 29, I have Tennessee. We'll see what little red-nosed Mason Rudolph can do for Christmas. Maybe he can channel his inner Christmas spirit and go on a little heater like he did with the Steelers when he took them to the playoffs. We'll see, but I'm not expecting too much from him in his, I guess, debut back as starting quarterback for Tennessee. He'll at least hopefully keep the offense on schedule. Pollard injury worries me, though, with them. I think if Pollard was healthy, I might move them up one or two spots just because I think their defense is at least average. But with Pollard, his ankle injury, I got to dock him a little bit for that because I think he carries that offense, at least from a consistency standpoint. I have New England at 28. Yeah, Spears season. I like Tajay Spears a lot, man. I just don't think he's a volume guy, so that's my only issue with him. Man, what an interception by Will Brooks for Tennessee on Ohio State. It was in the end zone, and he stole it from the receiver trying to make a one-handed grab. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, so Tennessee at 29. I have New England at 28. We're going to talk about them obviously a lot tonight, but you got to like what Drake May's doing. But that defense is just bad. This whole bunch of teams, I mean, really from 32 to probably 26, maybe even 25, maybe even 24. You could order them any way you want, and it'd be hard to argue one way or the other if they played each other. Um, does New England cover plus 14? I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much for the predictions later in the show, but I'm not sure. I don't know if New England can score enough. I mean, it's a divisional game, right? So anything could really happen, but I'm not seeing the matchups here on either side of the ball favor too much in what New England wants to do. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if it's a sleepy spot. I think Kansas City winning definitely helps New England in this spot because it keeps the Bills 2 games out and instead of 1 game out where I think they'd be more focused. But they're back home. It's a divisional game. Josh Allen's trying to get the MVP. I'd be shocked if the Bills weren't focused and ready to go and hit the ground running. They seem like they're on a mission. They haven't really had a letdown. Also, McDermott against rookie quarterbacks has a pretty damn good track record. Ramadre over 45. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good lock. I mean, I just worry about the game script, but I think no matter what, New England has to try to run the ball, even if the score gets a little out of hand. I think if they go to a straight just drop back game, that's even more trouble. First half cash, yeah, you might, man. It could be a first drive cash, depending on how the Bills want to play them. If the Bills go light boxes like they were earlier in the year, it could be quick. We'll see some of the Bills' injuries too, right? They got quite a few guys that are banged up on defense that are questionable, and I think that might affect the run defense and kind of maybe what they want to do schematically against the run. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah, game script bet. So New England 28. I have Carolina at 27. I don't know what to do with Carolina. I don't necessarily think they're great. Their defense has played a little better. I should say more. Their pass defense has played a little better. And obviously Bryce Young's been playing better. But man, they laid an egg against Dallas when they were finally favored at home. They got Arizona this week at home. Arizona's favored by 4.5. Is this a game where like are their spirits broken now because they had that big letdown last week? Sir Purr is not happy. Yeah, man, he's definitely not doing a lot of roaring right now. I don't know. I don't have much faith in Carolina, so I could definitely see them lower than where I have them at 27. But I give them a little bit of grace since their offense has been moving the ball. I like what Chuba Hubbard's been doing. And Thielen back as well is a nice piece. Xavier Legette's out though. That definitely hurts a little bit on the outside. So we'll see how they fare against Arizona, and they'll either move up or move down. I have Cleveland at 26. I wanted to put Cleveland a lot lower just because DTR is a disaster to me. I wanted to really like DTR, but nothing I've seen from him has shown me that he can move an offense. So that's what has me worried with Cleveland is I don't know how they're going to move the ball. At least with Jameis, they had the upside, but man, DTR really struggles to throw the ball and at all, like past the line of scrimmage. He's a check down merchant, man. He checks down to his running backs a lot. He doesn't really go down the field, and when he does, he turns the ball over. I think he started like 4 or 5 games in the regular season, and his highest passing yards is like 160 yards. So, yeah, DTR over 26 rushing yards. Yeah, probably. I think Jameis is hurt, right? I think that's why he's starting. But yeah, I don't know with DTR. I have his under for passing yards. They have his passing yards set at 193. I don't know if that's because of Cincinnati's defense or what, but Cincinnati's defense has been playing a little better. And I don't know, man. Lou Anarumo against a young quarterback. I would definitely hammer the under of 193 for Dorian Thompson-Robinson in that game. I think that's pretty much a mortal lock. I would almost think he played them last year, and I think he had like 100 yards, like low 100 yards. So, yeah, smash the under for sure on his passing yards of 193. Um, so that's Cleveland at 26. I don't think their defense either has been as good, but I also feel like part of that is when your offense is turning the ball over and not consistent, it strains the defense even more. So that could be part of it. But outside of Ward, their pass defense hasn't been as good as I thought it would be. 25, I have Chicago. Dude, I don't know what to do with Chicago. Like, that's another one, man. Like, Chicago could be 30. They could be 29. Like, I don't know. Right now, if you put Chicago against Cleveland, what's the line in that game? Does it just matter who's the home team? Like, I don't know. Like, right, man. No one wants to see that. Like, Chicago, Carolina. Like, what's that game? Like, I don't know. I would have a hard time picking between the two. Like, Chicago, New England right now is kind of like the same thing. Yeah, -3, sure. Like, so I have them slightly ahead of those teams, but it's not because I think they're like that much better. I think they didn't get the coaching bump, which I don't think is really a real thing anyway. And so I don't know. I think if anything they've regressed, kind of like the Jets. They didn't take a step forward. They've taken a step back. So yeah, Chicago -5 against New England maybe. And I would probably even talk myself into taking New England. I don't know why. So Chicago at 25, man. I just can't trust them. We'll see. I mean, they're going against Detroit defense that's really, really banged up. So if Chicago can't do anything on offense this week, then I'm going to be really worried that Brown's just over his head now as the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Yeah, awesome matchup this week. Yeah, I think so from a betting perspective and a player prop perspective. I'm definitely interested in some of the Chicago stuff. I think they should be able to move the ball, right? If they can't move the ball against this Detroit defense, then I don't know. So I like some Keenan Allen, some DJ Moore. Um, so we'll see with Chicago at 25. I have New Orleans at 24. Um, I don't know what to do with New Orleans. I don't think they're good. They're kind of in the same boat as these other teams. Spencer Rattler's back starting. Um, so we'll see what he can do. But that team's kind of a mess right now. They're really banged up. They got to go to Lambeau. Like, okay, let's see what you can do, Spencer Rattler. I mean, at least Olave is coming back, and so I think that helps. But Kamara now is banged up and might miss the year. I think that's huge. So, I mean, if they look just absolutely lost on offense and terrible, then I'm definitely gonna drop New Orleans. But right now, I kind of want to see what it looks like with Kendre Miller and Spencer Rattler, right? Like, and Olave, like, can they do something on offense? Um, and MVS is still playing, so I don't know. Maybe Rattler can do a little crazy and just sling it. I think if they try to just play conservative, they're gonna get blown out by Green Bay. So yeah, it's -14.5. It sure is. So that's why I want to see what they can do, man. Like, but I mean, there's a lot of teams though, dude. Like, you at Green Bay right now. Like, how many teams are you putting double-digit dogs going to Green Bay right now? Like, I think any of the teams we've talked about so far are going to be double-digit dogs, right? Like Chicago, Cleveland, Carolina, New England, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, the Giants. I think those all would be double-digit dogs. Yeah, well, at least he doesn't have Carr throwing to him anymore, man. That guy is just a hospital pass waiting to happen. Enough about New Orleans. How about the Jets, baby? I got the Jets at 23, showing a little bit of a pulse on offense, but holy crap, is their defense terrible? Like, unbelievable. Since Salah left, the splits from when Salah left to before and after are unreal, man. Like, weeks like 1 through what? Do you leave like week 6 or something? They were like top 5 to top 10 in almost like every metric on defense. And since Salah's left, they're like bottom 3 in like almost every metric. Like, it is unbelievable how bad that defense has regressed under Ulbrich. Um, just a disaster. And the offense at least is doing something, but Brees Hall banged up, and they haven't really been able to get the run game going. They've been relying all on Rodgers, and then dude, his mobility, and then he's still making some mistakes that end up costing him. Um, but I think they would be favored in any of the teams below them. So I have them at 23. Sauce is now a marinade. Yeah, he's been terrible this year. Comparatively to what he's been terrible this year. Um, yeah, the Rams -3. Like that is one of those Vegas lines that blows my mind. Like I know it's not a reflection of like the teams themselves, and it's about trying to get people to bet, right? But holy crap, is that line like so begging you to hammer the Rams? And it would be such a spot that the Jets just pull one out of their ass. Like I don't know, Stafford outside, like in the cold. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a scary line. I agree. It's like, wouldn't you feel so much better if it was like Rams -6 or something? Like, I feel like I would feel a lot better about that. But the fact that they make it like -3 has me a lot more worried. Um, we'll definitely talk about that game tomorrow because I was very tempted to put it as my best bets, and I don't know. Like, I keep talking myself into it and out of it. I just think that Rams D line can really get after Rodgers, but man, it worries me. Um, it's just one of those fishy games. I have Dallas at 22. I don't know why I have Dallas at 22. Like, I don't. But every time I want to kill them, they come back and they win a game or they have a good showing. So I have them at 22. But dude, what nephew? What's the line if on Dallas Jets right now? Like, what would you put that at? Like, I don't know. Is that just a pick 'em? Um, I just they're fighting, man. They're fighting. Dowd's getting going a little bit. Um, they're getting CD going, and that defense is waking up a little bit. Diggs being out, I don't know how big a deal that is or not. Like he's kind of boom or bust. Um, but yeah, dude. Dallas is better than all those other teams, but Dallas, New York Jets in Dallas, in New York Jets -1. Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think Dallas is better than those teams, but I think Dallas, New York Jets would be one of those pick'ems depending on who's home and who's away, for sure. Um, another enigma team is the Colts. I have the Colts at 21. Man, what an up and down team. We've talked about this every week, man. It's like so predictable in the offseason that was going to be the Colts. Like as Anthony Richardson goes, they're going to go. And boy, is he a roller coaster ride. Like, yeah, all these teams are bad, man. They're bad. Like when he can not kill himself with an awful throw or just a bad decision, like that offense moves, man. Jonathan Taylor goes. They have weapons, but boy, does he just make some dumb decisions, forces stuff. And it's really hard to consistently move the ball when you're completing under 50% of your passes. Like it's not sustainable in the NFL. We talked about it week after week. So I have the Colts at 21. They're dealing with some injuries too. Alec Pierce out. In at defense as well, they're dealing with a couple injuries. But again, I think they would match up with all the teams below them. I mean, I don't know. The Jets and Dallas might be all pick'ems, and the Colts, like those three teams. Um, Titans +4 lock. He's calling his shot right now. I went back and forth on that as well. It's actually in my parlay. You know how I like to do my parlay bets. I like to sneak in a dog or two, and so I got Tennessee in my money line. But I like the +4 a lot too, man. Rudolph, I think, gives him a little bit of a sustainability on offense. But the only thing is really the Pollard thing kind of worries me. But I do like Tajay Spears. Um, so we'll see. Let's see what the Titans can do. I mean, this is a big spot for them to show up. But again, they've won 3 games, man. Like, are they really trying to win? I don't know, man. It's rough. It's a divisional game too. So yeah, man, you know me. 20, I have San Francisco. It's really hard for me to put them any lower, but boy, they're just not winning. They're just not winning. They go to Miami. Like, can they win that game? Like, they should, but are they? I don't know. They're on their 15th running back. Like, it's tough, man. Their offense is Kittle, Jennings, and that's in the corpse of Debo, man. San Francisco's going to win tomorrow. Yeah, I want to say that, but man, I don't know. Like, Miami's defense has been playing really, really well. Um, so I don't know. This could be a one where I hammer the under. Um, but yeah, I don't know. San Francisco should win this game, but I think a lot of that is like reputation, right? Like, are you still giving them credit off of what they were in the past and not what they are presently? Because not much of what they've done right now gives me any confidence that they can beat anybody. And Miami's defense gives them a really nice floor. Like, they're playing really well. Offensively, I worry about them, but they're at home, and I think they play well there. So um, I do have Miami at 19. So it's not like I have them way ahead. So San Francisco at 20. I have Miami at 19. Um, yeah, Malik Washington. Yeah, Waddle's banged up, right? I don't think he's going to play. Um, so Malik Washington should get some more run. Hopefully they get some creative ways to get the ball in his hands. He's a fun player. I've been really shocked with how bad Miami's been able to run the ball. I guess tied to their offensive line issues, but really surprised they haven't gotten HN going. I don't know if it's like he's worn down from too many carries or what, but it's not like anyone else has been getting going in that backfield either. So Miami 19, Cincinnati at 18. And boy, could you talk me into moving them down or up. Like, I don't know what that team is, man. Who's going to show up what week? I don't know. Like, they should definitely beat the Browns. I think they have a good shot at sneaking into the playoffs. I really do, man. Denver's got a tough slate left. They got Cincinnati. Denver's got to play Cincinnati next and then Kansas City. Like, they could lose both those games, man. And Cincinnati could win the rest of theirs. So I don't know. I think Cincinnati could go on a little heater here and backdoor sneak into the 7th seed. And boy, Cincinnati going to Buffalo. Woo, woo. We'll see. We shall see. Cincinnati goes Cleveland, Denver, and then at Pittsburgh. That Pittsburgh game is massive. Obviously, that Denver game is too, but they're at home, though. I don't think that Denver team is that great. So we'll see. I think that's going to be a great game, man. But I could totally see Cincinnati sneaking in, and so that's why I have them at 18. But boy, they have not really beaten anybody. Like, their wins are Carolina, Giants, Cleveland, the Raiders, Dallas, and Tennessee. Like, that's their wins, guys. They haven't beaten anybody. They've not beaten anybody. And I know it's the schedule, right? You play the team in front of you. But again, your best win is Dallas. And that was 2 weeks ago, Dallas, right? That wasn't Dallas to start the year. So literally, their wins are Tennessee, Dallas, Las Vegas, Cleveland, the Giants, and Carolina. Like that, like there's nothing there, right? And then they've lost to New England, right? You could say week one's a liar or whatever, right? But they lost to New England. Then they've lost to Kansas City, Washington, Baltimore, Philly, Baltimore, the Chargers, and Pittsburgh. So their only bad loss really is New England, right? The rest of those teams are all playoff teams. So I don't really call, losing to playoff teams bad, but um, I don't know what to make of them, right? Like, they beat the bad teams and they lose to the good teams. So what are you, right? You're 18th ranked team. Like, so I don't know what to make of them. We'll see. The last 3 weeks is going to tell us everything we need to know about the Bengals, right? If they can beat Denver and Pittsburgh back-to-back weeks to close out the season, I think they'll sneak in. I mean, we'll see what Miami does too, right? Miami's got a chance if they win out as well, but they have some tough games left too. So we'll see. I have Atlanta at 17, and the reason why I have Atlanta at 17 is I am really interested to see what Penix Jr. can do. Anything I would say is better than what Kirk Cousins has been lately, but Is that true? Like we've definitely seen quarterbacks play worse, I suppose, right? Not many. I guess the previous quarterback in Atlanta played worse, Ritter, but uh, we'll see if Penix can provide any kind of life, any kind of spark to that offense, especially down the field. They're really missing down the field. Then I think Atlanta's going to be okay. But boy, they are bad with Cousins. They are really bad with Cousins at quarterback. So I have them at 17 just because I'm wondering what kind of spark Penix gives them. And they're 7-7 as well. So I got to give them credit for some wins, but I don't know, man. We'll see if he goes out and looks bad against the Giants. And then we'll be talking. Vegas seems to think he'll do well. His line is crazy. Let me see what it's up to now, because his passing yardage was crazy for a first-time starter. 220, 220 passing yards is his passing line for a rookie first-time starter. That is pretty insanely high. So we'll see. The Giants' pass rush can get after it a little bit, so but the Giants can't cause any turnovers. I think they have one, maybe two interceptions all year. So really interested to watch that game, just to watch Michael Penix Jr., not so much for the Giants. It's really hard to watch the Giants right now. So that is Atlanta at 17. I have Arizona at 16. I have not guessed right on Atlanta once this week, I don't think. I just can't figure them out. They are a Rubik's Cube for me, and I have them at 16. They should beat Carolina, right? I mean, they should. They should beat Carolina, but I don't know, man, with them. They've just been so unpredictable for me. They're 7-7 though. They really screwed themselves with those three straight to Seattle, Minnesota, and then Seattle again, right? Like that was their chance to try to get the West. They have Carolina, the Rams, and San Francisco left, so we'll see how they finish out. I wouldn't be shocked if they went 1-2 to close out the year, but who knows? They could go 2-1 and beat probably Carolina and San Francisco. But I have Arizona at 16. I have Seattle at 15. Another team. Maybe it's just the AFC West. Like I can't figure out that division either. Every time I want to like Seattle, they lose, and every time I pick against them, they win. So that's another tough one for me. I have them at 15 though. Big wins against Arizona at home and on the road. They had a nice stretch of San Francisco, Arizona, the Jets on the road, and then at Arizona on the road. But then they got crushed by Green Bay at home. Didn't really look like they were in that game at all, right? And um, anytime they've played like a good caliber team, they've lost. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Bills. They lost to San Francisco when they were healthy. They also lost to the Giants at home. They have not looked good at home this year either, so you can't even say that the Seattle home field thing has been there this year. They have Minnesota, then they have at Chicago, and then at the Rams. Like I'm guessing they're probably going to go 1-2 as well. And we'll see if they can hold on to that NFC West. Like I think the Rams have a good chance to steal the NFC West, man. The Rams have the Jets, Cardinals, and Seattle. Both Cardinals and Seattle are at home. So I think the Rams will probably steal that one. So that's why I have Seattle at 15. I have Denver at 14. I do not love this Denver team. I don't think their defense is that great. I think it's okay. I don't think their offense is very good. They can't run the ball regularly, and I think that really hurts them because then they got to rely on Bo Nix. And when he's got to really throw the ball, I think that gets him into trouble, especially when he's got to go down the field. They are very, very game script dependent. And when they get out of that game script, it gets ugly. The team that I have above them at 13 is the Chargers, and I think they're very much the same. And we saw that when they played each other. They're both very game script dependent. They have a very specific style they want to play. And if you get them out of that style, it's not very pretty. I think the Chargers losing their explosive element in the run game with J.K. Dobbins was pretty big. And I think their lack of weapons outside McConkey is troubling. Now, I think Herbert's very talented, and I think he makes plays happen. But you don't want him having to be a magician all the time and make big plays. He gets banged up, he takes unnecessary hits, and I don't think that's what you want. I think they want to pound the ball and then play action and bootleg him out. So I have the Chargers at 13 and Denver at 14. I have Tampa Bay at 12. Really respect what Tampa Bay has done. I guess I'll say I've been a Tampa Bay hater a little bit. I'm not the biggest um, Bulls fan, and I think they've surprised me a little bit. Baker's been playing great, out of his mind in some stretches, um, and I think that's really helped. Especially what they've done with Godwin being out has been really impressive. Getting their run game going, man. As soon as they stopped featuring Rashad White, it's been like a revelation, man. It's crazy what an explosive run game can do to an offense, right? The element of that explosion, because with Rashad White, there was just none of that. Um, and then as soon as they started featuring Bucky Irving, that offense just has taken off. But again, they're one of those teams that like what are they, right? They lost four in a row to Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, and San Francisco. So like, okay, like those are all like pretty decent teams. San Francisco, depending on what week you catch them, right? But Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, Atlanta being a divisional game, right? So anything can really happen. So they dropped those four in a row. And then they beat the Giants. Okay, it's the Giants, right? And then they beat Carolina. Like, okay, it's Carolina, right? Then they beat Las Vegas. Okay, well, okay, those are what, three of the bottom five teams in the NFL. And then they beat the Chargers, and really whooped on the Chargers in the second half. It was a close game until the second half. So, like, I don't know how much credit to give Tampa Bay. Like, they're 8-6, so I give them credit for that. I think the connection that Evans has, McMillan with Baker, and and then what they can do with on the run game, I think is good. Their defense has been playing a little better, especially against the run, but I don't know, man. I don't know how much credit to give them. And then they finish, right? They finish with Dallas, Carolina, and New Orleans. So they finish with what, three of the bottom 10 teams in the NFL. So they could be 11-6, and I don't even know if they're a good team. Like, we'll find out, I guess, in the playoffs, but I don't know what we're going to learn about them. So they could literally close out the season on a 7-game winning streak, and we know nothing about them because all 7 of the games were against teams that could miss the playoffs outside of will miss the playoffs outside of the Chargers. The Chargers are the only team that's decent among that bunch. So we'll see about Tampa Bay. That's why I have them at 12. I like the Rams better than them, so I have the Rams at 11. I think we're finally seeing the Rams healthy. That offensive line is healthy, and I think that is what you're seeing. Stafford's got a little time. He's really cooking with Puka and Cup, and then that D line can get after a little bit. So if the Rams get rolling early on you, it's tough, man, because they just get after it, man. They just put pressure on you, and I think they're finally getting a little healthy. So I have the Rams at 11. I liked them going into the year, then they got decimated by injuries, and now we're seeing them get healthy, and go on a little bit of a run here. So we'll see. They have at the Jets, which they should win, right? I think the Rams should win that game. Then they have Arizona and Seattle at home. So they run the table. They should win the West and get in the playoffs. And I don't know, like I think they're live against most of the teams in the NFC. I definitely would think them going to Minnesota would be a really good game. I don't necessarily know if I want to see the Rams go back to or go into Lambeau again, especially in the winter. Um, they played them at home earlier this year when they were banged up, lost by 5, but it's a little bit of different of squad now. But I don't know if I want to see that Rams squad playing in the snow in Lambeau. So I think it depends. What would you take? Would you take the Rams over Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay? Like that would be an interesting line to me. I think I might like the Rams in that game. So we'll see. I think they're a scary team, man, if they can stay healthy. So I have them at 11. I have Houston at 10. Um, Man, that Tank Dell injury was rough to watch. That's sad. Um, he was really starting to roll a little bit, and that injury is really tough. Losing Diggs and Tank Dell is really tough for that offense. Their O line is banged up, and they were bad to begin with. Um, and I think that I don't want to say this is like the death blow for Houston, losing this game because losing a game at Kansas City is like not that big a deal. They're the back-to-back champs, right? And they're undefeated at home this year, but that's a tough game, man. Like the injury-wise, more, and then they have Baltimore next at home. That's a tough game, and they close out the year at Tennessee, right? So that's a get right game. Hopefully they win that game, but they'll win the division, right? But they'll host a playoff game, but they're going to be the 4 seed most likely, right? Maybe the 3 seed. If they're the 4 seed or the 3 seed, that means they're probably playing what, Baltimore or Pittsburgh. It looks like probably most likely Pittsburgh now with Baltimore winning tonight. Um, I don't know if I would want to play Baltimore again, like even if it's at home. So that's tough, man. We'll see how the seeding breaks out, but I'm not sure I would have Houston favored over too many teams in the playoffs in the AFC. Um, Maybe the Chargers, maybe. Um, so yeah, Houston, man, they dealing with the injuries. I think that's the NFL though, right? It's a war of attrition at the end of the year or throughout the whole year, but especially at the end of the year, you got to see how you hold up, and it's usually the healthier team is the team that wins late in the playoffs. So Houston at 10. I have Washington at 9. I don't love this Washington team. I would love to move them lower, but I don't know if you played Washington and Houston right now. Like, who would you pick? Who would be favored? Washington and the Rams. Like, who would you pick? Who would be favored? Like, again, like this bunch of teams right here is interesting to me. I think Tampa Bay too. I think Tampa Bay and Washington would be an interesting game. Um, so I have Washington at 9. Um, I want to see what Lattimore does in there. Getting a legit number one corner can really affect the defense and change it. I just don't think that Washington D line can get enough pressure organically on teams. So I know Jonathan Allen's coming or came back, and so we'll see how that goes. But it's D line O line game when the later you get in the season in the playoffs, and I don't think Washington has it on either side of the ball for in the trenches. So I have them at 9. I have Pittsburgh at 8. Still think they're a good team, but a lot of mistakes today, and then obviously no Pickens hurts. I mean, any team you take their wide receiver one off, right? It changes things. It makes it tougher. Pittsburgh's dealing with some other injuries too, so we'll see with them. But I have them at 8. I still think they're a good team, but they got a tough slate, man. They got Kansas City on Christmas now at home, so in 4 days. Um, they have to play Kansas City at home. Pittsburgh is a fraud. I don't know about that. Like, yeah, you could say that in the past. I don't think they're a top echelon team, but I think that's about right for them, right? Like 8. Where I don't know how many teams below them you think would beat Pittsburgh right now, especially if Pittsburgh's at home. I don't think Pittsburgh's like a world beater, but I don't necessarily know if they're a fraud, right? They're what, 10 and are they 10-5 now? Is that what they are? That seems about right for me. They're 10-5. Yeah, they look bad, but like I said, Russell Wilson fumbling inside the 5, like I think that was massive. No, they're 10-5. They're not 10-6, 10-12. I think that Russell Wilson fumble really turned that game around. The Ravens went right down the field and scored after that, and that really flipped things around. I mean, it was going to be 24-17 at that point. Pittsburgh leading. So I think that was a big flip of the game. And also obviously like no George Pickens. So I mean, you take Derrick Henry off of Baltimore. You take Zay Flowers off Baltimore. Mark Andrews, one of those guys. I mean, I think that changes what they want to do. I mean, maybe not so much Mark Andrews right now, especially when they have Likely, but I think you take Zay out or Henry out, and I think that's uh, a different offense. So I don't want to discount Pittsburgh too much, but again, like I don't think Washington, Houston, the Rams, Tampa Bay are better than Pittsburgh. Maybe comparable. Yeah, Tennessee 10 unanswered. Yeah, it was 21 nothing. It was about to be 28 nothing. The receiver tips the ball up a little bit, and Tennessee picks it off in the back of the end zone, and now they've scored 10 straight. So it's going to be 21-10 at halftime, and at least they're going to make things a little interesting into the second half. I still think the Buckeyes should pull away in the second half, but we'll see. There's 15 seconds left in the half, and the Buckeyes are not kneeling it out, so that's interesting as well. I'm not a big Ryan Day fan for the Buckeyes. I think he's not the best in critical moments and in situational football. I have Baltimore at 7. Um, I think they just make too many mistakes, man. Even today, they made some mistakes. They got away with a couple mistakes. They got away with a face mask. They're the most penalized team in football. Um, and again, I think it's game script. They need a game script to go their way, and then they're really tough. Can they beat anybody? For sure, man. I think they can. I think they have the bodies. I do worry about the defense a little bit. And then in the secondary, I think you can spread them out and get the ball moving a little bit on them. But yeah, man, if they get rolling, they're tough, especially when they get an early lead or the game starts going their way. So I have Baltimore at 7. Really, the top 7 for me, I think, are all Super Bowl caliber teams. Probably, maybe one that's questionable. We'll talk about them in a minute, but I have Baltimore at 7. I have Green Bay at 6. Um, if Jordan Love heats up, man, and takes care of the ball, they're gonna be tough, man. Green Bay's gonna be tough. They got the talent, they got the weapons, man. I think Jair and the defense gets a little healthy. I think they can match up with most teams, especially if they're playing them at home. But they can put up points, man, and with Jacobs too, I think that gives them a little bit of a two-dimensional monster, if you will, and it just comes down to mistakes by Love. If he's hitting the throws he should that are open, right, and not turning the ball over, that offense can really get after it. And I think that defense is a little underrated. So I have Baltimore at 6. Ohio State's going for a field goal with 5 seconds left. It's a 56-yarder. And he missed it. He shanked it short and left. So 21-10 at halftime. I have Green Bay at 6. Minnesota at 10. Yeah, 3 teams from that. I have them all in the same order. So Green Bay at 6. I have Minnesota at 5. And I have Detroit at 4. Minnesota for me, I think it's Darnold and the corners for me. It's Darnold and the corners. I think their pass defense gives up too many yards. They're very much boom or bust. And I think their Darnold is just, man, under pressure. I think he panics, and I think if you can get after him and put a little pressure on him, I think he turns the ball over too much, and that's what makes or breaks these games in the playoffs, right? I mean, the margins get really small, and I think that's what's gonna cost Minnesota down the line. Now, if Darnold somehow catches fire and that offensive line protects him, then yeah, man, they could score with anyone in that defense. I think Flores, could definitely get after you if he gets into a drop back game. Their run defense has been pretty damn good too. But I just worry about Darnold, man, making some bad mistakes. So I have Minnesota at 5. I have Detroit at 4. I think Detroit is super talented, really well coached. I think the issue is just the attrition, man. The injuries. I mean, they've have what, like 20 players that have gone to IR this year. They just keep dropping, man, and it's not like small injuries or banged up. Like these are big injuries. And I agree with you. I don't think Detroit will go quietly. Um, and their offense is mostly healthy, right? It looks like we got some better news with Montgomery. Looks like he should be back after a couple weeks, hopefully, if he responds well to rehab. So that's big. Um, because I definitely don't think you want to just rely on Gibbs and give him so many carries. Yeah, I think Reynolds is fine for right now. I definitely don't think he's like a featured thing, and that's what Monty kind of gave you in certain game scripts, right? You could give Montgomery 20 carries and feel fine about it. I don't think you want to give Reynolds that type of workload, and I don't think you want to wear Gibbs down with 20 plus carries the rest of the year. So I'll be interested in the next three games how they mix up the touches there um, between Reynolds and Gibbs, but I think that offense is still going to fire, and they're going to be a handful. And I think they're motivated, and I think if anything, this helps light a little fire under them as far as being doubted now and being counted out, and people saying they're done. And so yeah, so Reynolds had a 15 for 75 in the Monty roll. Yeah, we'll see. Um, Sample size matters, but I definitely think with that O line, you could put most backs back there and they'll do something. Um, so I like Detroit. It's just if an offense gets hot, man, and you catch Goff in a mistake or two, he's been really good, really good. But it's going to take a good offense to go toe to toe with them, and then it's who blinks right and makes a mistake or two first. That's kind of how that Bills game went, right? Um, you got them to go 2 3 and outs to start the game, and the Bills went, touchdown, touchdown, and before you know it, it's 14-0, and that game, was completely flipped on its head right there. Campbell as a dog is more dangerous than Tomlin as a dog. I think Campbell with that team is more dangerous. I think anytime you have that explosive of an offense, I think that's what makes Dan Campbell dangerous. I don't necessarily know if it's Dan Campbell himself. Um, I always would rather have the explosive offense than the Russell Wilson led offense. Um, I have Kansas City at 3. Um, I don't know. I think getting Pacheco back is nice, but he hasn't looked as explosive yet. Um, I think Hollywood Brown coming back is nice. We saw that a little bit today. It bumps Worthy into his probably more rightful place, right, as the third wide receiver option um, with Hopkins being there as well, and so I think that we'll see how that plays out, and then yeah, their defense. I don't know. Is it criminal? Like, I have the Bills ahead of them, and the Bills beat them, and then Philly. Like, are you picking who are you picking? KC Philly right now? Like, I think Philly matches up really well with Kansas City. I would crush that Philly line if it was Philly Kansas City. I don't care what the line was. I think Philly all day. So I have Kansas City at 3. I think they mess around and find out, and they're gonna lose some games, man. Yeah, flip the one score games, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, today was a pretty good indicator of it. They had a bunch of things go their way, and uh, and it still was a one score for the majority of it, right? So I don't know. They just don't look that clean of a team, but they know how to win, and that's all that matters, right? They know how to win. So we'll see as they work Pacheco back in and they work Hollywood Brown in. So yeah, and I agree. And I don't think Houston's that great. So um, we'll see. They go, Pittsburgh on a short week. I don't know if that's going to tell us much with that Pittsburgh team, and I don't know if Pickens is going to play in that game either. Um, and so, yeah, that Dell injury though, like to get back to that really flipped that game around, man. Like that injury really did change things because I really thought that they were kind of getting a little momentum and getting it going, and then man, that injury was tough. You could see it on their faces, Stroud's face. Uh, that was rough, for sure. So yeah, Kansas City 3. I have Buffalo at 2. Hard not to have Buffalo up there, right? They beat Kansas City already this year. They've beat Detroit, so the team behind them. Um, they're gonna close out against New England twice and the Jets. They're getting healthier. We'll go over the injury report in a little bit, but they're getting healthier. Um, and uh, and we'll see see if they can keep it rolling. I have Philly at 1 though. Um, their defense is just really, really good. I think that's what separates them and Buffalo. Their pass defense is really good. Um, and I think in a matchup, I would take Philly against the Bills, even in Buffalo. I think that Philly defense really, I think it can match up well against Buffalo, and then I think that Philly offense kind of can give Buffalo trouble with some of their bigger packages and Saquon and getting downhill and then play actioning off of that with AJ Brown, and so I have Philly at number 1. So that is the Week 16 reverse power rankings. Um, get into what I'll be watching before the Bills game. So the Bills game's at 4, right? So I'll be watching the Rams at the Jets at 1 p.m. Eastern time. That game's on CBS. We talked about it a little bit. Rams, -3. I think the Rams should win that game, man. I really do. But it would be such a typical Rams Jets, both teams, for the Rams to lose a weird game they shouldn't and the Jets to win a game that they shouldn't. So we'll see. The Jets offense is kind of getting it going a little bit. Devontae Adams, getting his 100th touchdown, has been cooking the last 2 weeks. Garrett Wilson as well. And the Rams have been heating up. I think it's going to be a good game, man. I would love to see a boat race, and with the Rams winning, so I'll definitely be watching that one at 1 o'clock. The Dolphins are at home against the 49ers. We talked about that a little bit. That's a game Miami's got to win, right? Like they lose, they're out. They're barely hanging on by a thread. And the San Francisco team, man's banged up. Mood's a little low. We'll see if they can travel to the East Coast and win that game. A lot of familiarity there too, right, with the head coaches. But Miami's defense has been playing well, and so I want to see if they can give San Francisco trouble, and then which Miami offense is going to show up. Tua looked off last week, man, and it's the same thing you've always been able to say about Tua as far as the big games, the big moments, the throws just don't end up going through. Like the Stingley made some great plays. Tyreek Hill, had that one in his hands ripped out of his hands, and it's more so that team. Like they're just not a tough team. They don't make the plays when they need to be made, and so that's why it's really hard for me to say that they'll win a tough game against San Francisco. So we'll see. It's also the Romo Nance feature game on CBS, so we'll see. I'll probably have that on another TV during the Bills New England game. The other 1 o'clock game I'll be watching is Philly Washington. Again, I think Philly should beat them. Played earlier and it was a closer game, but I think Philly has figured out a little bit more on defense, and I think Philly should handle that game. I think you're going to see a heavy dose of Barkley. He's got some incentives in his contract that he's going to try to hit. I know he really wants the 2,000 yards, and so I think it's going to be a lot of Barkley and then picking your spots with Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown. So I like Philly in that game, but I'll be watching. That one's at 1 p.m. on Fox. The other interesting game for the week is the Minnesota Vikings at Seattle Seahawks. That's another 4 o'clock game. That one's at 4:05, so I'll probably watch that on the other TV before the Bills game. I think that's going to be a really good game. It's Minnesota -3 in Seattle. I think that's a game that if Minnesota's for real, they should go into Seattle, take care of business. Gino's banged up, hobbled. I think Flores will dial some things up to confuse him and get after him a little bit. And I think that Minnesota offense should be able to match up well against Seattle's defense. I think they can spread them out and run the ball with Aaron Jones, and then KOC will scheme some guys open. JJ and Addison. I think you could see a big game from Jordan Addison in there. So I'll be watching that again. Again, that's Minnesota at Seattle, 4 p.m. All right, so now to our matchup: New England Patriots at Buffalo Bills. 4:25 Eastern Time. The game's on CBS. The announcers will be Ian Eagle on the play-by-play, Charles Davis as the color commentator, and Evan Washburn on the sidelines. The Bills are favored by 14. It's been flirting or going back and forth between 14 and 14 and a half. The total is 46 and a half. Looks like the weather's going to be cold, but I don't think too much beyond that. Last I checked, it looked like it was going to be around 17, 16 degrees. I'll go over a little bit of the injuries and then some of the data behind both teams and where they rank. And then I'll play the pre-recorded video that I did with Pete after I go over this. And Pete and I talked, it was mostly Patriots. So I let him talk more Patriots stuff, asked him some questions. We had some discussions about Patriots outlook long term, and then obviously this game as well. And then I'll close it out with a couple more of my player props, my blueprint to victory, and then we'll close out the show. So let me get into the Bills injury report. So here's the injury report. A lot of questionables. Rasul Douglas, DeMar Hamlin, Matt Milano, Taylor Rapp, Curtis Samuel, Balin Spector, Dorian Williams. They called up Jalen Virgil and Kareem Jackson from the practice squad. I'm not sure how many guys they're gonna test out in warm-ups and see how it goes. I don't know who's they're gonna be cautious with. I hope they lean more cautious for a lot of guys. I think Rasul Douglas plays, though, the way he was talking and it sounds like he's going to come back and play. But you never know with the knee and how he wakes up. Maybe they'll be cautious with it. I imagine Hamlin, the rib injuries are interesting for the Bills because sometimes they're really cautious with them. I know it's like a pain thing, but at the same time, like if they feel like they can get by without a guy, they'll rest him because they don't want him to nag, because those rib injuries can nag and be re-aggravated. So I wouldn't be shocked if Hamlin sat again and you saw Bishop come back in. So we'll see on that call. I think Kareem Jackson's more of a precautionary guy because you have Rapp and Hamlin questionable. I don't know if both of those guys start. So my thinking would be probably one of them sits, and then you go with Bishop and the other guy, and then you have Cam Lewis and Kareem Jackson. So we'll see. I just hope that they're cautious with whoever, and there's no need to play a guy unless he's fully healthy. So we'll see on those. Matt Milano, the groin, like I hope he doesn't play. I don't want him to re-aggravate that. I don't need him hurt going into the playoffs or nagging the rest of this season. Like, there's no reason to play him. If it literally is bothering him or sore at all, there's no reason to play Matt Milano. Just sit him. I know Spector popped up with a calf midweek, so Thursday. McDermott talked about that a little bit and said it popped up. Dude cannot stay healthy, man. He cannot stay healthy. This is the second time he's been hurt during the week in practice, and it was a damn walkthrough. So I don't know what's going on with him, man. And his calf keeps nagging. So we'll see if he plays. Linebacker's getting a little thin, though. If you got Matt Milano sitting and then you have Spector sitting with the calf, you have Dorian Williams with the elbow being limited, and he's had the brace on his arm. So I'm not sure if they want to give him a go. So that means you'd be down 3 linebackers, and that would leave you with Terrell Bernard, Ulofoshio, and Joe Andreessen. So I'm interested to see what they do with these linebackers, man, because they brought out the base defense, 3 linebackers against Detroit, and I would think that this would be a game where you could work that in a little bit to get some more reps, but man, you need your linebackers healthy. So I'm not sure. Could this be a type of game where they go Bernard and then they go like dime a lot and bring in Ingram, um, and Cam Lewis? Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I really want to go small against New England wanting to try to run the ball, but um, it'll be interesting to see with these linebacker injuries and then how that affects what the Bills want to do schematically. Um, Curtis Samuel with the rib. It's again one of those things like, dude, just sit him if it's nagging him, if it's bothering him. Like, there's no reason to let these injuries fester. Um, so if it is bothering him, I hope he doesn't play. And then that wraps up the injuries. It looks like all the other guys should go. Um, it's good to see Amari Cooper full. I know he didn't play a ton of snaps against Detroit, so it's good to see him not carry a designation. And then the Cole Bishop thing as well. They said it was cramps, but it's good to see him not be on the injury report. And I liked what I saw from him, so it'll be good to see him uh, maybe get some run here with both safeties questionable and both of them not playing last week. Um, all right, for New England, it looks like they're going to be without Marcus Jones, who is their slot corner. Hasty and returner. So that's the punt returner. Hasty, backup running back, is out as well. And then some questionable guys. Pete's going to talk about a little bit of that here in a minute. All right, so that's the injuries. It's really going to come down to game time for the Bills and who plays and who doesn't. So definitely check that out before the game. We'll be tweeting about it as soon as we find out any of the news and warm-ups. But that's definitely going to affect some things in this matchup defensively. Offensively, there's not really anything that matters, right? Curtis Samuel playing or not playing isn't really going to affect what they want to do on offense. All right, so here's some data for the matchup. I've tried to keep up with these throughout the year with the matchups, but I've fallen behind on some of them, so I'm getting back to them to close out the season. So team EPA. So this is the expected points that are expected for a certain play or situation. So the Buffalo offense is second overall in Team EPA. They're second in pass, and they're first in rush EPA. So the offense has been firing on all cylinders. Obviously, 8 straight 30-point games, right? Like, that's pretty obvious, but the advanced stats agree as well. And then for the run game, they are 8th in yards per carry. I like to do that a little bit too, just to show, like, per carry average, what are they averaging? I know it's dependent on like before contact, after contact, stuff like that as well. But if you just show like the EPA, I don't think you always see the effectiveness of the per carry um, as far as in numbers. Because the rush EPA being first, that's more about like situationally. The Bills are the number one team situationally against the rush, but down in, down out, like how are they yards per carry, and they're 8th. The Bills defense is 17th overall in EPA. They're 21st against the pass, and they're 8th against the rush. But they do allow the 24th or 24th, I guess, worse, yeah, yards per carry. So again, yards, on a down and down out, they allow the 24th worst yards per carry, but situationally, they're the 8th best run defense. So it's kind of something we've been talking about, right? Like, their total numbers might not be the best, but in situations where they need to stop the ball or stop the run, they have for the majority of this year. You saw that against Detroit, right? Like, Detroit could get nothing going when Buffalo wanted to stop the run. And then once the game script kind of got away from it, then it didn't really matter. So New England is 25th on offense overall in EPA. They're 28th against the pass, or 28th in pass EPA, and 13th in rush EPA. They average the 10th best yards per carry, and a lot of that is yards after contact for them. They do not do well yards before contact. Pete's going to talk about that a little bit in the video. New England defense is 28th overall in EPA, 29th in pass EPA, and 20th in rush EPA. So surprising to see New England defense just not doing well. I know they had guys go in and out against the in pass defense, but it's not been good. But they are 14th in yards per carry, so middle of the pack in yards per carry. Third down, the Bills' offense is 8th. Fourth down, the Bills are 1st. And red zone, the Bills are 3rd on offense. The Bills' defense is 26th on third down, and we've seen that, right? That's been the Bills' bugaboo this year is third down, man, especially third and longs. Like, they've just given up way too many that they shouldn't. Fourth down, though, they've been very good. They're 6th in the NFL on defense in fourth down, and they're 18th in red zone, and so they've been getting better in the red zone. They were like mid-20s for a good stretch of the second half of the season, but the last couple games they've been better in the red zone, minus that Rams game. New England offense, 29th in third down conversions, 14th in fourth down conversions, and 30th in the red zone. So the New England offense has not been good on third down or the red zone. It's kind of an interesting matchup against the Bills, who've been bad on third down defense and below middle of the pack in red zone offense or red zone defense. So we'll see how New England offense matches up. New England defense is 24th on third down conversions, 6th on fourth down conversions, and 23rd in red zone defense. The Bills are the number one team in turnover differential at plus 18. They have 25 takeaways to 7 giveaways. The Patriots are 26th in turnover differential at minus 7. So 11 takeaways and 18 giveaways. So way too many fumbles for the Patriots. In the trenches, the New England defense is 28th with 27 sacks. They're 16th in pass rush win rate and 23rd in run stop win rate. The Buffalo offense, conversely, has given up the least sacks this year at less than 1 per game, so 0.9. The offensive line for the Bills has been really good, and then Josh Allen has been really good at avoiding sacks. He's run into way less sacks this year than he has in the past. A lot of times he would, try to scramble but run into a defender, and this year he's doing a much better job of avoiding that. The Bills' offensive line is 6th in pass block win rate and 16th in run block win rate. I talk about guys. I can only see the data for the guys in the top 20 for each category. So Deion Dawkins is the Bills' left tackle. He's 6th in pass block win rate. And then Spencer Brown is back. He's 18th in pass block win rate. He was in the top 20 for probably the first, 6 or 8 weeks of the season, and then he fell out for a little while, and he's come back in the top 20 now. So Spencer Brown, 18th pass block win rate. New England offense is 25th with 3.2 sacks allowed per game. So that's a lot. It's over 3 a game is, that hurts your offense. How much of that though is with Drake May in there? I'm not sure. He seems to do a better job throwing the ball away and scrambling. The offensive line though is bad. They're 30th in pass block win rate and 31st in run block win rate. That's been the big bugaboo. We'll talk about that with Pete here in just a minute. The Buffalo defense is 20th with 32 sacks. They're 12th in pass rush win rate and 11th in run stop win rate. So right around the top 10 mark. Daquan Jones has been heating up lately. He's 16th in defensive tackle pass rush win rate. He's been in the top 20 now for the last 3 weeks. And then Ed Oliver just keeps climbing up, man. He's 11th in defensive tackle pass rush win rate. No surprise after that Detroit game. He had a great game with 10 pressures. And so it's good to see both those guys heating up a little bit when it comes to pass rush win rate. Like I've been saying this year, the Bills are going to go as their defensive line goes. I'm not worried about the offense, but if the Bills' defensive line gets after it, man, and plays well, it's a completely different team. When the Bills' D-line struggles, that defense can't get off the field. All right, so that sums up the stats for this matchup. Now I'm gonna play the video from this morning. I recorded with Pete Collins. He did a really good job breaking down the matchup. So feel free to comment, and I'll comment back. But I'm just gonna let the video play. But feel free to comment if you have any questions or comments about the video. So enjoy. All right, and now I'm joined by Pete Collins of the Fox Fellows podcast. Pete, how's it going? Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we're week 16 already, and we haven't even played yet. I know it's a little late in the year for that, but I'm sure we'll dive into the specifics of the Patriots. But how's it been going so far this year? What are versus expectations? How are you feeling about Patriots squad right now?
Yeah, the NFL gifted you guys a little early Christmas present with two Patriots matchups here at the end of the year. How are
Who would have
things
thought
going?
that though, right? Like who would have thought that even 5 years ago, right? That I would ever be saying that the Patriots are two pushover games at the end of the year, right? Like
Well,
crazy.
when you had Bill Belichick as your head coach, any game's winnable. With Gerard Mayo as your head coach, every game is losable. So things are just a little bit different here in New England versus what you as Bills fans might be used to. How are things going in New England? If you asked us at the beginning of the season, or told us at the beginning of the season that we would have 3, potentially 4 wins, and Drake May would look very legitimate going into his second year, we would all be thrilled. Tell us that now, because it is all very true. We have 3, potentially 4 wins, probably 3. And Drake May is very legitimate. The eye test clearly
Hmm.
passed. The statistical test, the analytical test clearly passed. So why aren't we happy? And I think it's just how we have looked on the field and how we have gone about our 3 wins. It kind of felt like a little fluky week 1 win,
Hmm.
and the losses haven't looked particularly competitive, although some of the games have been close. Some of them have not been either. And the post-game presses from Gerard Mayo have just been an absolute disaster. So it looks like we're a little rudderless in our direction. I don't know our identity, and I don't know the direction that we're going, which I think is why a lot of Patriots fans are upset. Not so much at the record. Like, this is where we expect it to be. It's just how we
Right.
got here, the story.
Right. The over under from Vegas was what, like 3.5 or something like that.
Four and a
So
half. And I
four and a
took the
half.
over
Yeah.
on that. So I thought we were going to be able to I thought there was 7 winnable games and we would probably get 5 of them. That's
Yeah.
not looking like the case.
Yeah. I think in the preseason show that I did, I was high on the Patriots compared to their win total, just for the fact of I thought the defense would give them the high floor. And if anything, it's been the opposite, right? It's the defense that have let the Patriots down this year. And well, I'd say more so when Drake May's been playing, right? Since he's come in, it's the defense that hasn't really held its own or made the plays that I thought they were going to last year. I thought they were going to be a top 10 unit at worst. And we're looking at what? They're a bottom 2 or 3 unit in the NFL in most categories. Has that been something that's been the most surprising to you this year?
For me personally, no, but for Patriots fans, yes, and I'll tell you why. So Patriots fans looked at last year, like you just said, top 10 defensive unit. You look at statistics and it backs up a lot of those too, right? But I would like to look a little bit deeper because I felt like the Patriots performed very well when facing off against terrible quarterbacks, terrible
Mm-hmm.
offenses. And when they played against good offenses, they got smoked. So I just divided it. I went top half of the league, bottom half of the league. Last year, when playing top half of the league offenses, we let up like 28 points per game. When we played bottom half of the league offenses, we let up like 18, 15, it's something in that range, in the teens, high teens points per game. So, yeah, we ate up terrible offenses and we got destroyed by good offenses. So that's not really good, in my opinion. I want you to be good against good offenses. That's
Yeah.
when you can tell yourself that you're a good defense. So I thought we were kind of fraudulent last year. And it just got
Mm-hmm.
exposed completely this year with the fact that you lose Bill Belichick, who probably elevated everyone on that defense 1 level. Gerard
For
Mayo brought
sure.
them all back down to their appropriate levels. He's a linebacker coach, and our linebacking core is very bad. So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of what we expected, I had my expectations much lower. But even where my expectations were lower, the reality is even lower than my expectations. This has been a
Right.
horrible display of tackling this year for the New England Patriots. Tons of missed tackles.
Yeah, and a lot of that was before. At least my thoughts for the New England defense was before the Judon, deal and him leaving, and then also the Barmore, blood clot issue as well. And do you think those two are big factors, or do you think no matter what, even if they played, the defense would still be bad because of the other issues you mentioned, like tackling and linebacker play and scheme wise?
So I think Bentley is the one that we're missing the most, really, our middle linebacker, because we have a problem with tackling at the linebacking position. But you mentioned Judon. I don't think Judon did much with Atlanta, so I don't think we missed too much
Right.
of him here in New England. To get a third round pick as a rebuild, get out of here, Judon. That was a great trade. Absolute
Right.
domination by Elliott Wolf there in that trade. Barmore, yeah, that's huge. Barmore came on in the second half of last season and exploded. That would be the word that I would use.
Hmm.
He plays up the middle, which would have paired very well with Godshaw in a run stopping defense. And what has been our problem this year? Run stopping
Yeah.
defense. So, yeah, absolutely. Barmar has been a huge loss for the New England Patriots. I will say, though, it allowed, maybe not allowed, he probably would have done it anyway. Keon White has stepped up on that defensive line and turned into a brilliant pass rusher. I think he's
Hmm.
just gassed at this point in the season because he's been asked to carry the load. But yeah,
Yeah.
losing an edge rusher like Judon it was big, because having him across from what this year's Keon White would have been, who do you go after? Who do you stop? Now everyone
Right.
can just focus on Keon White because the other side of the ball really doesn't have much going on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you'd say what Keon White and Gonzalez are that defense, right? Like, I mean, Peppers, I
Completely.
guess too, right? Peppers has shown some, ability as well. So, but yeah, well, it's tough without Judon and Barmore being there. There's really no names either, right? There's no names on that defense outside of Keon White and Gonzalez, and I think most of the NFL don't even know who those two are. So,
Well,
um,
if they don't know who Christian Gonzalez is, they're going to have a really rude awakening.
he's so good.
Christian Gonzalez, in my opinion, is a top two cornerback in this league. Like, he ate alive everyone that he plays. Granted, he has a couple of bad games here and there. Brian Thompson Jr., I think, got the best of him in his games against the Jaguars, but he ate alive Marvin Harrison Jr. last week, like tormented him. He tormented Diggs before. He shut down Tyreek Hill before. I mean, the list of wide receivers he's matched up against and how he's held them to 1, 2, 3 catches for like 30 yards, no touchdown. I mean, this man dominates. If you're a Bills fan and you want to watch a matchup this week, watch Christian Gonzalez versus likely Keon Coleman.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing for this matchup is like there isn't really a guy the Bills, who are you gonna try to shut down? Like they don't really care. Like lock Christian Gonzalez up against whoever, and the Bills are like, fine, like we'll just go to someone else. So the one thing you would say is arguably the best part of the Patriots defense is kind of negated against the Bills just because they don't really have a true, one alpha one outside that they feed the ball to anymore that they did traditionally, with Diggs the past few seasons. So that's an interesting angle. I want to see how much Josh goes to that side of the field or targets Christian Gonzalez because I just don't think there's a need to this game.
I think other quarterbacks figure that out very quickly. They'll target Christian Gonzalez and they'll go, that's just not working. And then they just go right to the wide receiver 2 or 3 or tight
Yep.
end. Whoever is your wide receiver 2, 3 tight end, I always go for their overs when it comes to props for the receiver, because Patriots have a trouble covering their wide receiver 2. And
Yeah.
to even highlight that even more, Marcus Jones, our nickel corner, is out this game, and he's been pretty good in the nickel, especially with Alex Austin coming in playing across from Christian Gonzalez at the CB2
Ex
position.
Bill,
So,
we're Wall of Famer, Alex
yep. I mean,
Austin.
he's big, right? He's 6'1", something like
Yeah.
that. And we don't have the height. Jonathan Jones doesn't have the speed anymore. And we've been playing him a lot at free safety, especially considering Kyle Duggar and how many missed tackles he's had this year. It's the fall off of Kyle Duggar needs to be studied by people
Yeah.
across the
It
NFL.
started what second half last year. He kind of fell off a little bit or was down a little, and then this year is just unreal. Like he's been terrible.
Terrible. Like,
Yeah.
especially getting a 4-year extension and getting a bag too. He got
Yeah.
overpaid. And I understand the Patriots need to overpay people they're rebuilding. That's how you
Yeah.
retain talent, how you get talent. You overpay a little bit. But the Kyle Duggar contract looks horrible right now. And he does not look like a starting safety. And he's paid like a top 10 safety. So huge problem with the
Yeah.
New England Patriots. But we got the cap room to make that mistake. So it's like really
It's
probably no
true.
harm, no foul there. But Duggar's fall off has been real.
Yeah, and you thought with him and Peppers, you were gonna have a really dynamic duo with those two, right? And it just
Yeah.
hasn't. Peppers has lived up to it, and maybe then some. But Duggar, man, just terrible. Um, do you think part of the issue is a personnel thing as far as what Like, does Gerard Mayo just want to carry over what Belichick was doing? Because what Belichick, his personnel and his style was obviously unique as far as the NFL, right? Like the way he uses linebackers, the way he uses his safeties. Is that something you think Mayo wants to carry over, or do you think there'll be a shift on that personnel side for the defense? And maybe that's part of the issue is they still have some of the old bodies and body types and trying to run something different.
I think there's tons of carryover from the Belichick defensive era. Covington was part of that staff, promoted to defensive coordinator. Mayo is part of that staff. You have Dante Hightower coaching that team. I mean, there's lots of Belichick disciples coaching that defense. One thing I'll say about Belichick disciples, name one that's worked out ever at all. Like people who learn from Bill Belichick how to coach are horrible coaches. Like there hasn't been one that's been good. So I'm not sure that learning from Bill Belichick's a great idea. I think Bill Belichick himself is great. Like there's just no question about that. If anyone wants to have that debate with me, we'll sit down and we'll have a very heated debate. But Belichick is the best NFL coach to ever walk on an NFL field, right? It'd be interesting to see how he does in college. But in the NFL, no debate there. So I just don't understand why none of his coaches understand how to coach in the NFL either. It's almost like he didn't teach them or something. I don't get that at all. I can't explain that to you, but there has been tons of carryover and it hasn't worked. So I would like to see some change just based on that math equation, nothing else. Normally I would say do whatever Bill told you to do, but it just hasn't been working. So time for change.
Yeah, it's almost like he was too multiple and too unique that there really wasn't a true system, right, that you could build off of because it was always evolving and changing. And so it's hard to then replicate that because it's not like a true system, right? It's not like a...
He thought of it each week.
Right. It's not like a Tampa
he's like, who are we
2.
playing?
It's not like...
Yeah. I don't play. This isn't my scheme. I don't have a scheme
Right.
if I'm Bill Belichick. Right. I'm like, what does the other team do? We'll run 3-4 this week. We'll run. Oh, they run. We'll run 4-3 this week. Oh, they are really good at picking up the blitz. We're running simulated blitzes all day. You know, like he'll scheme it up each week, and so that requires genius, right? That requires you to know what the other team does, how to take it away, yada 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 yada. Mayo is not a genius, right? Mayo can barely even speak at a podium. So I don't think he's able to scheme it up each week and kind of has to run it back with a set style each week because of his limitations. And I think it takes some self-awareness to know your own limitations and then to work within that. So it might be smart what he's doing, but it also exposes a little bit of his limitations and Covington's limitations as a rookie defensive coordinator, rookie head coach, rookie defensive coordinator, rookie quarterback. You know, we have lots of rookies going on, our first years going on when it comes to coaching and players on this team.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because it's not so much what built the type of defense he would run, right? It was more how he would tweak it to take away what the other team wanted to do, right? Like, and so that's probably the challenge in this is that maybe they're struggling with how to tweak those specific sets because defense is defense, right? As far as formations and sets and stuff like that, but
and tackling.
Right.
Like tackling is just like a thing you practice, right? Like fundamental. Yeah. Like there's some fundamentals that are being lost.
How many Bill Belichick teams were bad at tackling?
Right. 0. And if you were, you weren't on the team. And nobody's getting cut. Nobody's getting fired. And that's another problem I think Patriots fans have is like, where's the accountability here for all this horrible play? Like, why do the same players get to go back out there week after week when they're dropping the ball or not tackling the guy with the ball?
So a friend of mine, big Patriots fan, Brad, he wanted me to ask you about the Jonathan Kraft stuff from last week being broadcasted in Arizona, like taking notes. I don't know anything about that, right? I don't get into the minutia of Patriots lore, but
I do.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the deal with that? What do you think is that what that was about?
Yeah, Jonathan Kraft, I don't think liked that his father hired Gerard Mayo. So he's watching it just like I'm watching it. Like, what is this product? And almost looking at his father like, you hired this guy? I told you not to hire this guy. And one of the things that he was caught on camera, which might be what your friend is asking about, was there was a 3rd and 1 and then a 4th and 1 from the 4-yard line in last week's game. And we handed it off to the running back twice and got stuffed twice and turned the ball over. And the question is, you have Drake May. How are you QB sneaking it? Like, why are you letting him get you your 1 yard? Like, it seems pretty obvious to us all. Like, if it was Madden, I'd be calling QB sneak and then running it back one more time. And I bet you I get me my 1 yard. And I bet the Patriots would have too. And what he mouthed because you have to lip read, so you have to take it with a grain of salt, was this play calling is terrible, is what he said. Like,
Nice.
what the hell is this? And then the media asked Alex Van Pelt, our offensive coordinator, who is the play caller on offense, and, have you spoken with Jonathan? Have you gone over the fact that it looked like he said your play call was terrible? And he said they hadn't spoke, which isn't I don't think a great thing when like that's going on. Like your Jonathan Kraft should come down and be like, Alex, I didn't say that. The lip reading got it wrong. Or I did say that. I didn't like your play call there, but I'm going to be a man and come down and at least talk to you about it. So it's not like out there and it's a thing we haven't spoke about, right? You can say, I came down and spoke to you about it. But yeah, Jonathan Kraft, I think, is completely out on the way that the trajectory of the New England Patriots, which is the only hope I think we have as Patriots fans, that Jonathan Kraft is just as much of a fan as we are and does not like what we see, just like we don't like what we see.
Yeah, and I will say, at least for his dad, at least, he hates losing, right? Like, he wants to be back in the playoffs. Like, he wants to be relevant. Like, he is very much, is ego the right word? But he
wants to be in the Hall of Fame.
Vanity, right? He loves the vanity of being on TV, your team winning, right? And all that comes along with it. And it's not so much about like the money or building the franchise. It's literally about the celebrity, the winning, right? And I think that might be a saving grace for the Patriots as well, as far as like, I don't think he's going to sit there for another 2 years if Mayo is just trudging along and bottom feeding.
The city won't. The city of Boston is one of the most impatient cities.
Yeah,
we will burn this effer down, right? I don't know if we can swear or not, but like we will burn this city down.
You can swear. You can swear.
Thank you. We will burn this fucking city down if we don't see changes. Like Red Sox for too long, bad, we'll roast the ownership. Celtics, anything. Even when the Celtics are winning championships and you have someone, they're selling the team, we're roasting them for like any single thing. We're out there. Bruins, we're out there. Fire the coach, right? Like, we're after you as the media, and you really can't keep surviving in this city if the media is out on you. You'll lose your job because you've lost
the radio,
the
man. I love Boston radio, man. Like, it is the greatest. Like, after a loss, like, it doesn't matter if the Bruins are like 40-8 and they lose a game. Fire everybody, bench him. Like, it is the greatest, man. I love it, man. The passion is great. I think that's one thing that, someone from Buffalo appreciates, at least, is the passion is there, right?
Yeah.
It's like live and breathe with every play. And I think, I don't find any necessarily joy in the Patriots being bad, but it's nice seeing you guys have to deal again with it's hard to build a team, right?
It came so easy to us before, and we took it for granted. And this struggle period is somewhat humbling for the New England Patriots, I think, fandom. But we're not handling it too well.
Well said. No, I think it's almost like cathartic though for a fan base to go through that though, because it weeds out some of the bandwagon people, right? And then it resets expectations. It helps you appreciate winning again, right? And like a good team, and you realize how hard it is to get in the playoffs too, right? After it was automatic, the division was automatic for 20 years.
The regular season was a mere formality for the New England Patriots. It was like I literally would sometimes go not. Right? I wouldn't need to watch the games. I'd watch the rest of the NFL on Red Zone. Who cares what the Patriots are doing? Wake me up in December, at the end of December, when I can start getting ready for the playoffs, because that's when the true season starts. And I felt like the team and everyone kind of understood that was the typical schedule that we were all on. Now we're on the what the heck? What the hell is going on? What is this? Why are we losing so many games and looking so bad? Why are we in the laughing stock of the NFL? What a fall off the New England Patriots have had. And I feel like there's been many opportunities to not fall off, and they've just made the wrong decision at every turn, and they deserve this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of that starts with, I would even say, Belichick, right? The GM and the poor drafting and personnel decisions, right? And then it's especially towards the tail end, and then now it's fallen over even into the last draft, right, as well. But the missing on wide receivers, the O-line. I mean, is there a worse O-line even close in football? And you have maybe one player that'll start on another team on that offensive line.
Mike Onwenu would start on almost any NFL team unless you had a superior right guard, in which case you would play another position on your O-line. Mike Onwenu is very legit. After that, there's not a single player on this offensive line that would maybe even sniff a roster. Never mind, like a depth. Verdarian Lowe could be a depth tackle, but he's a horrible starting left tackle. Our center was signed off the Oakland Raiders practice squad and continues to snap the ball low week after week after week. I mean, we really don't have pieces. We had a guy named Michael freaking Jordan be our left guard for most of the season. So, like, we have nobody on this offensive line, and that needs to be the focal point of this offseason. And should have been the focal point of last offseason, which is another reason why Patriots fans are pissed. Like, we all knew that Chuck Okorafor was not a good left tackle. He quit 12 snaps into the season, literally quit the NFL after the first game. We benched him 12 snaps in because he was a saloon freaking door. Verdarian Lowe, horrible replacement. Our draft went horribly. Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson have been nothing but a disaster, although Wallace has been hurt most of the year, so you kind of retain a little bit of hope there. But none of the draft has worked out for the Patriots this year, and that's how you rebuild through the draft. So
was that
maybe a year two jump.
Was that a Wolf draft? Was he?
Yes. Yes. He is the final call on the draft. That was, I mean, the Drake May hit, but I could have picked Drake May at 3. There was lots of the conversation wanting Marvin Harrison Jr. Get the wide receiver. Who's he going to throw it to if he doesn't have a wide receiver? And that's ringing true. But if you don't have a quarterback, who cares? Who's going to get him the ball? That's the counterpoint. Drake May was clearly the right pick, but I feel it was a layup. I feel as though if you didn't pick Drake May, there would have been an absolute revolt. So I don't know if I give them too much credit for that because it's like you had to do it. He was there. He was like, you picked the quarterback. Everyone else, disaster. Polk, oh my God. What a horrible pick that was.
I didn't love Polk, but I loved Baker. And I don't understand, like, what the hell is going on with Javon Baker?
So I think it's a Baker issue. Baker at the beginning of this, what's that?
Like mental?
Maybe. I would contribute it to mental. So here's why. At the beginning of the season, he had some disparaging comments about the police, and Gerard Mayo was quick to say, listen, keep it on football, bud. He was the 4th round pick. How many 4th round wide receivers really start week 1 or, they have to kind of earn that role. Yeah, they earn that rookie position. And there was people ahead of him on the depth chart for sure. But he also had a concussion. He got into a car accident a couple weeks ago and got a concussion, just cleared concussion protocol. He's been a kick returner for a few weeks and made a couple of misses. And I really think it's just not showing up in practice. I don't know how well he's getting this playbook, how well he's, fitting in and meshing with Drake May. I don't know if there's that. I don't think they're putting him on the field for enough snaps because I don't think he's earning those snaps at practice. That's my only explanation because, you need an X wide receiver on this team. Right. That is what and he is that. This is the guy that could play the X. And you're trying to put Polk, who's a space finder, at the X. You tried to put Bourne, who's just not that guy. You tried to put Osborne when he was on the team there. He's not that guy. Demario Douglas is exclusively a slot wide receiver. So you need an X. And he could be that guy, and you haven't tried him there yet. So I really don't know. That's another one of those, like, hey, can we throw some crap against the wall and see what it sticks? We got 3 weeks left. So maybe you do see Baker this week, especially clearing concussion protocol. Osborne's released. And I think they might be getting close to saying, Polk, you go down the depth chart. You're really just not showing improvement.
What about a nice Deontay Johnson sitting out there?
If you follow me on Twitter, you would see that I had the Patriots meme where you have that guy pointing and says Patriot. I think that he would be a great fit. He's an X wide receiver, and you're kind of at the position where you have the cap space, so you can say, you can throw money around that. You can waste money, I guess is my point here, right?
Yeah,
and then you have a chance
what's the
loss?
What do you lose out of it, right? Like,
what's the risk versus the reward? The reward is you potentially find an X. The risk is you wasted some money for 3 weeks. Robert Kraft's got it. Like, please.
Right. And how much money is it going to cost you? He's on his 3rd team this year, right? So
he was released. So maybe the Ravens have a responsibility. I don't know.
Right, and you would pitch it as like, dude, come in for 3 weeks. We'll play you as much as you want to play. We'll throw you the ball, right? And hopefully you can make money in the offseason because of it or whatever. But
give him a second chance. But he's probably more. I mean, if a team needs a wide receiver that's making a playoff push, that's a far more attractive offer than you want to come get demolished the last 3 weeks.
He didn't work out on the Ravens. Like that was his. He went from Carolina to the Ravens for that chance, right, to hop on with a Super Bowl contender or playoff team, and he didn't do anything. So I don't know, man. I think it'd be great for the Patriots because there's no risk. I mean, who cares if he never plays it down, right? It's 3 weeks.
Preaching to the choir, man.
I don't know, but the wide receiver thing was, the inability for the Patriots to find wide receiver talent God, it's been a long time, but yeah, just rough. And then it's got to be frustrating too, because you see Drake May, and we could shift to offense now to talk offense, but
Sure.
he's been awesome, man. Like, especially that is the worst collection of talent to put a rookie in, especially more so when you're equating the offensive line, right? Like, to put a rookie in front of that offensive line is just brutal. You're asking to teach them bad habits, right? You're asking them to learn to bail the pocket quick and to be scared for your life, right? And to not go through your progressions to just get rid of the freaking ball. But the things he's able to do and create with pressure and throw under pressure have been awesome. And those are the things that you feel like are the most important metrics right now, right? Because if he can thrive in the chaos, then you feel like if you give him time and better structure around him, then he'll be good in that environment. So I'll let you talk about Drake, but from what I've seen, he is everything you could have hoped for, and then some, considering the environment he's in.
Yeah, he has no support. Like, what does he
Right.
have outside to help him? Like,
Right. The run
nobody.
game stunk too, right? Like, he has Hunter
It's
Henry, and
terrible.
that's really, and I mean, I like Demario Davis too, but
Douglas, Demario Douglas, Pop
sorry,
Douglas.
Pop
Yeah, no,
Douglas, yeah.
he's good. He had a great rookie year, and he's building on that in his second year. But he's a slot receiver. You need
Right. He's a
people
wide receiver
around him.
3 on your offense. He's
Yeah,
not, yeah.
he might not start on some other teams. Like, he's good for like where the Patriots are, and he'd be a good slot receiver, and he'll be a piece. But he's a piece. He's not anybody that you write home about, and that's why he needs people around him. But Hunter Henry's the guy on this team. He's the offensive player of the year outside of Drake May. Stevenson. He has the talent to be that guy, but just with no O-line, he has no chance. The yards per contact, like the amount of space he gets before he's contacted, is one of the worst in the NFL. I think it's like 0.3, and 0.3 yards. We should be talking feet. Like, he gets feet before he's touched. Like, that's ridiculous. He can't even get to the line of freaking scrimmage because he lines up 5-6 yards back. He's getting touched in the backfield.
Where
and
Saquon gets like 4 yards before
That's
contact,
right. That's what my point is. If you give him
insane.
that, just give him yards, like, and he would take them. He like leads the league, or is like third or fourth in the league of yards after contact. And I hate that stat because he gets contacted so quickly that obviously he's going to have the most yards after contact in the NFL. He is breaking tackles, but it's the result of the bad offensive line that he gets these statistics. So Stevenson is still an effective running back. So if we have a good blocking day, Stevenson will have a good running game.
Right.
That will happen. It's not him. It is the O-line that is the problem. And
I think the only thing you can knock him for is just the fumbles this year. They came out of nowhere.
He got benched for it, and he fixed it. Yeah, and I think
he doesn't fumble traditionally, though. That was so weird.
Yeah, no, he had 4 fumbles in 4 games, was benched for it for a series, and then played the most snaps after that series. So it was almost like, yeah, get the good guy back in. We punished him. Bring him back now. Although Gibson has shown flashes this year, and I think is a much better scheme fit, Antonio Gibson, for Alex Van Pelt's zone scheme run, especially to the outside. He's quicker. He's a little bit more nimble.
He gets downhill fast.
Yep, you can catch the ball. Stevenson can catch the ball too, but Gibson's the guy that you would rather be catching the ball out of the backfield. Yeah. So we kind of have a dual threat running back situation, but no O-line to help them out. So it's kind of a moot point there. No wide receivers again, so can't throw the ball downfield, moot point. But you still have Drake May completing 80% of his passes in back-to-back weeks. So explain that, right? And the explanation, I'll give you the explanation. It's cloud coverage. So I think that's one of the key matchups that I'm going to be looking at this week is Drake May versus cloud coverage, because the Bills love to run cloud coverage. Patriots called a lot of short passes, screens, dump offs last week. I mentioned it was 80% completion. I mentioned that it was 2 weeks in a row, but he's never had 80% before. So this is more of a recent trend for Drake May and the Patriots. So I want to see more downfield action this week, but only when the defense shows you a look you like, because they completely abandoned that last week. They're not throwing the ball downfield, and we went over it. So I'm not going to beat it, but the O-line and the wide receivers are why they're not throwing it downfield. If you can't get the time and you can't separate, how possibly could you throw it downfield? But I want them to sprinkle it in this week. The Bills are very effective in cloud coverage. They use it about a third of the time, the second highest rate in the NFL, with good reason too. They haven't let up a single touchdown, 167 attempts, third fewest yards per pass attempt when utilizing cloud. However, Drake May, third highest completion percentage over expected in the NFL versus cloud coverage. So I would say if you're a Bills and Patriots fans, I would be watching Drake May versus cloud coverage, because it's going to be a third of the offensive plays likely.
Yeah, for sure. And another cat and mouse in this game I'm interested in is the Bills last week brought out some base. They don't ever run base. They're like 98% in dime or in a nickel. And so they don't really run base ever, but they brought some 3 linebacker sets against Detroit, especially on first down. They would put like 9 in the box. The Bills never do that. Against the Ravens and why they got destroyed, they were putting 6 and 5 in the box. And I'm interested to see if they start doing that in this game, because the Patriots like to run some bigger sets and run the ball. And so do the Bills bring that out? And then that opens up, like you said, some of the play action and going down the field stuff, because they're not in too deep and protecting against that. So that could be something to watch here. Maybe even some Hunter Henry like leak outs and stuff like that in play action. Also, the Bills defense against screens has been bad. They do have 2 interceptions on screen passes this year by defensive linemen, which never happens. But so that could be something to watch too, is the screen game. But I'm interested to see some of the stuff the Bills do, because I think they're going to try to practice, if you want to say that is maybe not the nicest term, but they might try to practice some of these and get more reps with running some different defensive formations that they don't normally do. Also, some of it is personnel-wise. They've had some injuries. Some guys are banged up right now. And so they might do some unique things they don't normally do, just trying to figure some things out. So I'm interested to see that, because the Patriots do at least have some different personnel groupings that the Bills don't always see, or that are similar to some of the opponents they might face in the playoffs.
The Patriots tend to not run the ball against stacked boxes. Other teams don't need to stack the box, is kind of the takeaway there. You don't need us. You can run base and still stop us. Patriots, I think, run against a stacked box about 20% of the time, which is like bottom half of the league, and run against a light box about half the time. So Patriots tend to struggle with the run no matter what formation you give us. So other teams kind of recognize we can just worry about the pass and Drake May and fall back into coverage and let them throw it short. We'll stop the run with our base, and that's how we'll beat the Patriots. And that's probably exactly what will happen on Sunday.
I wonder if the Bills will put so sometimes when they face a mobile quarterback, or a guy that's good at creating and extending plays, they'll do a spy on him, but not like your traditional spy. It'll be more like attacking spy. So the second they'll have the line kind of push him one way or the other, and the second he moves out of the pocket, that's when the spy goes and attacks. They did that really successfully against the second half against Kyler, and then they did it as well against Patrick Mahomes. I'm wondering if you see that this game as well, since they know that Drake likes to extend and get outside the pocket, that kind of thing, and the D line as well struggles, or sorry, the O line struggles to protect. So it's not like you got to send extra guys. So you can give up a guy to do that. Do you see that as something that could be successful against Drake, as far as not bringing extra guys so you have more in coverage, but having a guy pressure him the second he tries to escape the pocket?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need a spy Drake, especially because he doesn't do designed runs. He has 0 designed runs this year. Every single run that he's had has been a scramble. So you do need to worry about that last minute break, the play breakdown, and he scrambles for yards. I will say, though, I think your defense is probably prepared going up against Josh Allen at practice every single week. We see a lot of Josh Allen and Drake May. I think they're comps for each other, or what we would hope that he could turn into one day. And if you look at rookie years, I would say Drake May's having a better rookie year than Josh Allen's rookie year. So you can see a little bit of in him. I'm not comparing them as right now, but in year 7, Drake May, maybe he's having an MVP season just like Josh Allen is having this year. We call it on our defense the Longhorn, where we have Brandon Schooler, our gunner, come in, and he kind of crouches down at the line of scrimmage, and exactly what you said, the whole line moves one way, he kind of comes around the other way, and he sacks the quarterback. I think he has like 4 sacks on like 8 plays this year. It's kind of ridiculous. So we would expect to see that against us too. I don't think Drake's going to run it if he sees it. He'll pass it. He'll throw it away.
Right.
Drake is very good at kind of just, okay, it's not there. Okay, it's not there. Like, yeah, you used the whole guy to try to stop me from running, so it's now 10 defenders I have to worry about. You've just lost the guy. So I think that there is that to be considered too, that Drake May's just pretty good, and maybe you want to let him run it 5 times for 50 yards and still beat us and just worry about the rest. You can let him do that. You're not going to lose the game letting him run all over you, because have we won a game where he's run all over teams? Not really. That's not really been the reason why we've won games this year. I'm kind of interested to see how Drake May does in the cold. He's never been in a cold weather game.
Good point. Yeah.
His coldest game of his career came against the Colts week 13. It was 37 degrees. Buffalo this weekend is supposed to be 17 degrees. So that's a 20-degree difference between his coldest game. Bills defense has let up 40 points against the Rams and the Lions, but I got to note that's a dome. They've been in domes the past 2 weeks. Orchard Park is just going to be different for the Bills defense and for Drake May going up against them. Drake May was pretty good, like I said, in that cold weather game, 24 for 30, 238 yards, a touchdown and a pick. But as I noted, Sunday is just going to be a different environment. So watching a rookie quarterback, watching him develop and meet different series of challenges and barriers, one of the barriers is going to be cold weather. New England Patriot quarterbacks need to be able to quarterback in the cold weather, because it becomes an advantage for us when we play warm weather opponents. Like when we play in Miami some season in week 17 at home, we want to be able to dominate them because it's cold out and Tua can't throw when it's below 60 degrees, right? So we want that advantage, and we need to see that advantage. So it'll be a little bit of a tester this weekend. Can Drake May pass effectively in a cold weather game? But I think that also leads to a James Cook script for the Bills, because you'll be up big and it will be cold, and running the ball makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Drake May one's a good call out in the cold, though, because I saw his comments saying like he was excited to wear sleeves and stuff like that. And that's something Josh had to work on in practice, because as a mobile quarterback and looking to run around, you wear sleeves and the ball gets very slick. It is very hard to tuck the ball in your arm with sleeves on. That's why a lot of running backs don't do it. You have to find like the right material and things like that. And that's something Josh had to learn. So not that New England wouldn't know, or their equipment people wouldn't know that, right? But just saying like that is something new. Like you have to, it's a feel thing too, right? Like, for a while, Josh didn't wear them, or he wore the cutoff ones. And so it's just those little things, right? Tom Brady would wear the cold suit or whatever, with the cutoff sleeves. And so, yeah, I think it's a great call. Like you want to see him in these games, regardless of win or loss. You just want to see him get experience in them and figure it out and try different stuff. And that's just part of the growing process right now with a rookie.
100%.
There was one other question. Do you think, having said all that, do you think Mayo is safe? Like, no matter what happens the rest of the year, do you think he's safe, or is there still stuff that could come out that could hurt his job? Like, I know you play us twice, and what's your other game?
Chargers.
So yeah, like, do you, if they get blown out in 3 games, does that matter? Does that affect him at all? His status?
So there's reports that it does matter. However, I don't think it does matter. And I'll explain why. So I think Gerard Mayo is going to be given a second year just because he's been the plan by Robert Kraft for so long. I don't know how much Bills fans know about the story of how Gerard Mayo got hired, but basically it was put in Gerard Mayo's contract while Bill Belichick was still the coach here that he would be the successor to Bill Belichick. So there was no interviews for head coach. Gerard Mayo was just ushered in, which I think was a huge mistake. And for that reason, I think he'll get a second year because of how he was hired and because of the plan here. I think the offensive coordinator will be the scapegoat. I think Alex Van Pelt will be fired. He was the 12th person they interviewed before they hired someone because everyone was rejecting them, or they couldn't get anyone to sign here. So not their first pick, not their second, third, fourth, their 12th pick. So I think he's their scapegoat this year. But reports are coming out that Mayo is on the hot seat and that his job security isn't as secure as I might have just made it seem. The beat is something you can pay attention to here because they're tapped in. The beat knows stuff that they can't just come out and say. So you can pay attention to their attitude and the questions and like the titles of their articles. In the beginning of the year, all Patriots fans were, oh, we're fine. We have hope. And then it shifted to Gerard Mayo really stinks and this is really bad and we need to fire him. But the beat stayed on, he's going to be here for a second year. Don't think you're getting rid of Gerard Mayo. All of that has changed in just a matter of a week. The entire beat is saying that he's coaching for his job. The last 3 weeks matter. He's not guaranteed a second year. And now he's starting to get questions in the press game conference, which he's never gotten before of, do you think your job's safe for next year? Where he's never gotten that question. But we've all been asking it. Pats fans have all been asking that all year. The beat hasn't. Now the beat is. So just looking at the beat writers and how they're reporting on this, they are asking and thinking that we don't know who's going to be the coach next year and then he might be coaching to keep it. If that's the case, the Bills twice and the Chargers, there's no way he keeps his job. How could you possibly do well in those 3 games? Which is another reason why I think he keeps it. Because he's going to, right now, him and Kraft sit down after every game, and he probably said to Robert Kraft, what do you think I'm going to be able to do these last 3 weeks? Look at the personnel I have and the coaches I have. If you allow me to fire my offensive coordinator who's having me run it with my running back into my center's ass 2 times in a row and turning the ball over, I can't have that. Bring me Josh McDaniels. He'll cook. Bring me a defensive coordinator that's actually coached on defense before. I'll cook. I'm a rookie. I need help. I don't have any help here. I'm learning. I've definitely learned, but I don't have an offensive line. I don't have an offensive coordinator. I don't have a defensive coordinator. My defense has a litany of injuries. Like, it just goes on. I think Mayo has a strong case to keep himself here for a year or two.
Did they try to bring in like veteran experienced head coaches as like advisors or in the coordinator role? Okay.
Yeah, so Ben McAdoo's here. I don't know if you consider that but he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. And if you're just isolating Drake May didn't start. And when he did start, it looked like a rookie quarterback. And now he kind of looks like he's been playing for a few years. Like, he looks really good. Very intuitive. He had that little flick pass last week. He's avoided some intentional groundings with pretty smart plays of throwing it at the running back's ankles, sometimes with his left hand because he's running to his right. He's throwing on the run. He's hitting his first, second, and third reads. Like, he's doing everything that kind of a veteran quarterback does. So we're very high on Drake May. But I don't think that Gerard Mayo can just simply take credit for Drake May, but maybe you can give some credit to AVP and Ben McAdoo, Alonzo Highsmith, some of those advisors they brought in to guide Drake May on his development, because he has developed. So whoever's responsible for that gets that credit. Right. But who? I don't know. I don't know who's responsible for that. It might just be Drake May. He might just be him. And I could be his coach and he would have developed that. You know what I mean? It just might be Drake May.
That was part of the Josh Allen discussion too. If we're saying something parallel, his first few years, is it Dable? Is it Dorsey as the quarterback coach, or is it Palmer, who's his offseason coach, who he goes to for everything, and he was the one who helped him remap his throwing and his footwork and all that? Like, who developed him, right? Like, who's helping that? And so, it's interesting because you got to nail that down, because really, like, here's the scenario for you. Like, if Alex Van Pelt gets fired, like, does McAdoo get promoted to offensive coordinator? Because I don't think anyone wants that. I wouldn't want that from his track record.
No, I don't think Patriots fans would want that. It's like, don't bring in another clown show. Josh McDaniels is everyone that in New England keeps like.
Here's the name for you. What if Dable gets fired?
Yeah, that's another name that people have been floating around too. We would accept talent in the NFL that is coached at the NFL level before. I think that's where we're at right now. We're not gonna get Ben Johnson, right? We all want him, but like, why the hell would he come here? That just makes no sense unless he thought he would be the head coach, right? So I just don't understand why Patriots fans even waste their times on those conversations. We're a losing team for years now, so we kind of have to temper our expectations with who we can hire. Look who we got. We got our 12th pick, Alex Van Pelt. So, I think Josh McDaniels we can kind of skip the line with him. A lot of people are talking about Vrabel replacing Mayo because we can kind of skip the line with him. He's an ex-Patriot, Robert Kraft friend. So, we'd have to look at those options. But Josh McDaniels is the loudest name.
If Mayo got fired, who would be your choices?
I think Vrabel is the one that people talk about the most. But you have to see also who gets fired, because that opens up a whole new list of names. But do you really want a guy who's been fired? Adds also a very good counterpoint. I would need to see the list. We're not at that yet. So I'm very much a stay in the moment type of guy. Gerard Mayo is the head coach. There's been nothing sort of indicating that he's going to get fired on Monday after the Bills. So it's for the foreseeable future, we're working with this pile of crap.
Yeah, I definitely don't see them firing him in season. That makes no sense.
They would have done it already.
He took over. Yeah, for sure. No matter how embarrassing it gets, I think they wait till the end of the year. All right, so back to this game. Do you have any player props or anything you like in this game?
Yeah,
Uh,
I got three.
let's hear
So
'em.
and then the same three that I gave on my podcast last night. So what we do is we do a money line pick, we do against the spread, we do over under, we do a Patriots prop, and away prop, so Bills, and then we do a long shot prop. So I'll just kind of give you
Let's hear it
exactly what
all,
I
man.
gave last. I'll give it to you all here.
We'll take
Um,
it all. We love betting. So
Yeah, me too. That's exactly what we do on my podcast as well. So, New England 5-8-1 against the spread. Buffalo 9-5. New England's over under record 9-5. Same thing with the Bills here. So I'm going Bills money line. I think that's the easiest one. We really don't even have to discuss it. But I'm also going Bills -14. I just think that.
mm,
This is going to be a blowout. I don't think the Patriots can keep it close. The Patriots have lost by more than 14 points 5 times. The Bills have won by more than 14 points 5 times. So it's not something that these teams are,
that was a great tweet, by the way. That was great.
yeah,
I
like,
saw
I
I saw
mean,
your tweet of that. I was like, man, that really puts it in perspective. You don't really think about it. Like, how often has this happened for both teams? And
like this can happen. You think of like a two
sure,
touchdown loss, like kind of rare, but not rarely. Not for the
right.
Patriots. It's happened a handful. Bills are 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games. So I really like the Bills against the spread, and I really don't like the Patriots against the spread, which kind of leads me to taking the Bills -14. Over under, I'm going with the over, and the over's responsibility here comes on the Bills. The Bills need to carry the over here. They're averaging over 30 points a game. The Patriots stink, so they should score their 30 plus points a game. They've done it 8 straight times. It should be 9 straight times. The overs hit in 10 of Buffalo's last 12 games where they're the favorite, and the Patriots' last 3 road games at the Bills have gone over. So there's just so many statistics pointing
Mhm.
me to the over in this game.
And the Bills really want to score this week because they're tied with the most 30-point games in a row in NFL history. And so if they score 30 again this year, they've done it 8 straight games. So if they score over 30 this game, that's 9 straight, and that's the NFL record. No one scored 30 points 9 straight games. So they know about that, and I think they really want that. And that's not really asking that much with how their team's been and how the Patriots defense has been, right? So that definitely leads the over. I mean, if they get 30, let's say, that means the Patriots have to score 17.
Yeah,
Like I think the Patriots will score 17, even if it's in this, even if it's in the fourth quarter and it's junk, a junk touchdown
a
late.
junk
Like
touchdown. Yeah.
I for sure think that is plausible. I think even if the Bills get up early, they'll go to a more prevent defense. They'll bring in backups. They're gonna try to. I'm guessing. I hope they try to preserve guys and play some of the guys. And you saw against Detroit, like they completely turned off their defense essentially and went pretty safe. They had some injuries as well that they're still dealing with in the back end, and so they gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter, really in the last 12 minutes. So I think Drake can do it, especially if we're talking second half and the game's a little bit out of hand. A 3-score game or something. So yeah, I think that over is a good play.
Definitely hammer the over in this one if you're a better. When it comes down to props, player props, the one that I like for the Patriots the most is Austin Hooper over 2.5 receptions at plus money. I feel like you're robbing Vegas at plus money with this one. He's gone over 2.5 catches in 8 games this year, but has gone over in the past 5. So as of recently, Austin Hooper has been a big part of our offense, bigger than Vegas is giving him credit for. The Bills have allowed the 7th most receptions to opposing offenses this season. So receptions are to be had this week, especially when a double-digit spread is going to lead to a passing attack from the Patriots. You know that they're going to have plenty of opportunities to pass it. You know that they're going to look at Hunter Henry as the person to shut down. So who covers Austin Hooper? Traditionally, the second linebacker, somebody that is a second consideration because he's the second consideration at tight end. So I really like Austin Hooper to go over 2.5 receptions in this one.
I like that a lot. I think a lot of it is going to be tight ends, running backs, and then stuff underneath. So even if it's Pop Douglas, but yeah, the Bills are going to run a lot of zone, and so whoever can settle down in zones is going to be successful.
On the other side of the ball, I really like James Cook. So my Bills prop and my long shot prop revolve around James Cook. The first one I'm taking is 60 plus yards, rush yards, which is -146 on FanDuel. Barmore's out. So with Barmore being out, you have way easier time rushing the ball. Cook's gone over 60 yards 2 out of the last 3 games. He averages 4.8 yards per carry. So all he needs mathematically is 12.5 carries to reach his 60 yards. He averages 13.1 carries a game in a game where his team should be up big. He should get more than his 13 carries, in my opinion, which leads me to believe he'll get over his 60 yards that he should average if he just maintains his 4.8, especially when the Patriots love, missing tackles and letting up. He could get it in 2 carries. He could get a 40-yard rush and a 20-yard rush and get a 60 right there in 2. So I would not be surprised if James Cooks hits his overs. I think his over-under is like 64.5. I just happen to take the 60 plus. So I like the 64.5 too. So whatever you're feeling, if you want to get a little bigger payout, maybe you go with the 64.5 over under.
Yeah, I agree with that. I worry about total carries just because of the game script and things like that. And they like giving the ball to Ray Davis and even some carries to Ty Johnson. So that's the only thing I would worry about is with James Cook is maybe not volume, but yards for sure. I definitely think he gets – and he's gotten a lot of red zone looks as well. So
that leads me right in, if you don't mind, to my next one. The long shot is that he gets 2 touchdowns. And a long shot on our podcast is plus 400 as a minimum odds. So pretty much not going to happen. But, hey, that's why we call it the long shot. Yeah. It's plus 500 now? It was plus 400 yesterday. So you're getting even better odds if you take it today than yesterday, which means Vegas likes it less as the time has gone on. So maybe not a great sign. But 4 games this year with 2 touchdowns, including last week. He has 13 rushing touchdowns this year, or 13 touchdowns this year. I think 12 rushing. Tied for second most in the NFL, only behind Derrick Henry and Jalen Hurts, who's in first place. So amongst running backs, tied for first place in touchdowns. It's a cold game. Will there be up big? Lots of red zone touches. I think you'll get once Cook gets his first, I'm very confident that he'll get his second. It's just a matter of, that waterfall
too,
starting.
Right? Like,
yeah, that counts.
They'll throw to him, and they'll throw to him in the red zone. So I think that's a great call. And here's a sneaky nugget for that play as well: is Josh Allen's hurt. Like, he hurt his throwing shoulder late in that game. I was at that game. He fell. He got tackled really weird on one of the running back draws to the right and fell with 2 guys on him on his shoulder. He got X-rays after the game. It was negative for major injuries, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a sprained AC joint or something, and that's his throwing shoulder. And so I really think they're going to try to protect him. I don't think he's going to run a ton. Yes, he'll still do his thing where he runs around and scramble, but as far as design runs like we saw against Detroit and some other games, I don't think we're going to see a lot of that, and even in the red zone. So I think that's going to go more to the running back. So I think that plays more towards your angle as far as feeding James Cook and giving him more opportunities that might go to Josh in the red zone. I think that's a good
We had
call.
Hans from Cover One on, and he said the same exact thing you said after I gave that. He was like, especially passing touchdowns count too, because they'll dump it to him on a blitz in the red zone, and he could scamper in the end zone. So yeah, 2 Bills guys saying the exact same thing. It makes me a little bit more confident with my James Cook 2 touchdowns, long shot prop.
Yeah, they'll design stuff for him too.
Yeah.
Like Ty Johnson's the only worry in that is sometimes when they get in the red zone, they'll bring Ty Johnson in, but they'll split them both out wide. They'll run wheel routes with them, like especially against Patriots linebackers, like who we know aren't the most athletic. Like if they can get them soloed on one of the running backs, yeah, Josh is going to throw to him all day. You saw it against Detroit last week. Like the Bills had like 8 targets to running backs that were like designed. Like that was the read. Like they weren't going to throw to anyone else. So yeah, I think that's great. James Cook 2 is a sneaky good play. So
those are my picks.
Another good one is over 30.5 Bills team total. Like we said, they're gonna be gunning for 30. That is a thing. I can't believe the line's only 30.5. It's minus 110. I think those odds are just too good. So that might be one to throw in.
I just wrote that down. I'm totally going to go take that one. That's a great one.
It's too low, man. Like,
points. Yeah.
With that narrative, like, yeah, without that narrative, maybe with the weather and stuff like that, but no, like they're going to be gunning for that for sure. Like that's history.
They'll keep their players out there to get the 30 points. Is kind of how I feel about that.
McDermott traditionally does that too. Like,
yeah.
if it's like a 17-point game, like he's going to leave him out there. Like, he's going to leave him out there. It's kind of that Dan Campbell-ness too. Like the Bills fans are all yelling like, get him out of there. Get him. It's like 8 minutes left and Josh is still in there. But if it goes over like 21 or 20 plus, like, yeah, he's going to pull guys. So hopefully they score early and get it. Cause I think that's a cool history nugget. 9 straight 30-point games is pretty cool.
100%. I think there's one other little good history nugget. I believe that, I mean, I just want to pull it up to make sure I got it right here, but the last 2 times that the Patriots have played the Bills in Buffalo, the opening kickoff has been returned for a touchdown. So
That's
if
cool.
it was to be returned for a touchdown in this game, it would mark 3 straight games where the opening kickoff would be returned for a touchdown, which would be pretty wild. So if you're a
That's
gambler, maybe you throw a sprinkle in on that just to be part
Yeah.
of history.
What? Because it was Naheem Hines did it, and then who did it
Jalen
last
Rigor.
time? Okay, yeah, Jalen Rager did it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We have a pretty good returner. I don't know who's returning kickoffs for
So
you
that
guys.
you kind of set me up there. Marcus Jones is our punt returner.
Oh, he's
He doesn't
out.
and he's out. So we do have a
Yeah.
returner. Javon Baker might be the guy kick returning. So you might get to see a little Baker, which is something that we all kind of want to see, Patriots and maybe Bills fans alike. So Javon Baker might be your kick returner. Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas might be the punt return fill-in, but he also plays wide receiver as a starter. So I don't know. He did it last year, but that's kind of like what rookies do, right? Rookies kind of like punt return and kick return.
Well, he's also second in targets for you guys. That's not really where you want like your second leading target guy on kickoff return. But hey,
the second target guy on our team doesn't say a whole lot, though. You know what I mean? Like it's Hunter Henry, and then who else? Like who knows?
It's Hunter Henry
like,
and Pop, and then it's nobody until like
nobody. So
Keyshawn Booty, I think, is the next closest one at like 30 or 40 or
and
something.
he had to beg to get on the field. I don't know if you know the story of Booty, but he like went up to AVP and was like, "Hey, coach, I can play." Like,
I like him. I liked him as far as like height, weight, measurables. He's got them. Like
LSU wide receiver. I mean, yeah, without the gambling, I think he might have played last year and improved last year, and we wouldn't be talking like the breakout of Booty. It's not exactly a breakout. Last week's interception by Drake May was Booty having the ball and like almost olaying it to the defender, like completely on. It was like a pass to the defender on Booty. He's dropped the ball pretty terribly. And then like after the game, we'll go out there saying like, why don't I get the ball more? It's like, well, bro, you just dropped like a gimme. So like things aren't completely lining up with me for Booty, but from going from like potential cut, he was potentially going to be cut this year. But we got rid of Parker instead, and then Juju and, Osborne. There's been some veterans that we've cut and kept him around as a young player, which makes sense as a rebuild. But he was a potential not going to make the 53-man roster at the beginning of the year. Now he's like our third best wide receiver. Still could not make the roster next year, though.
Right. Shouldn't probably, or maybe he's your fifth or sixth wide receiver, right? Like
it's just because of the roster that he's on the roster. Like he's not NFL. Like, I mean, he might stick around on this team and improve.
He's your fringe guy, yeah.
He's a fringe.
So another sneaky player prop, since you like those, I got one for you, is Khalil Shakir over 4.5 receptions. He's typically a 6+ receptions guy. He's the slot guy. They move him all over the place. They'll throw behind the line of scrimmage to him. They're going to get him the ball. And especially with your guys' slot corner being out, like he's going to get volume. He's going to get the ball. No matter the weather, they're going to get him the ball. So 4.5 is just extremely low. That's -120.
I like that one a lot.
Shakir over 4.5, yeah.
Yeah, Jackson Smith-Njigba lit us up. Every wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end.
He's Josh's security guy too. Like when
Trey
Josh
McBride last
needs
week.
something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we get
Trey
lit up.
McBride was a beast, dude. God.
Yeah. Jonnu Smith killed us. I mean, those slot speedy. I know those last two I mentioned are tight ends, but those are like prolific tight ends.
Kincaid too, right? Kincaid's 3.5, so we'll see. Maybe he has a big game this week. So
I just don't know about the passing script, like for the Bills. Like how much are they going to be?
It's going to be early, right? I think if
first half,
they're going to do it.
Maybe take a first half line.
Josh is still trying to go for the MVP, so I do think they're going to
trying to, man. Have you looked at the odds? He's like -1,000. He can sit back and relax and cool and make the MVP. I don't think he needs to impress anyone. In fact, I think he'd be better served throwing it for 220, 1 touchdowns, and no picks the rest of the year and just walk away with his MVP. Don't do anything stupid.
Right. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. Like as long as the Bills win and he doesn't go, have a, a bad game, if you want to.
He could even have a bad game. But don't let it become twice against the Patriots, or don't let it come against the Patriots. Let the Jets do that or something to you. But even the Jets is a bad. You don't want to let it happen.
Their defense, dude.
I take that back. Yeah,
their defense is a trope, man. Ever since Salah,
they got Sauce, right? Sauce is back, right?
Yeah, But he's
Yeah,
been
so I
bad
mean,
this year too,
Sauce,
man.
Christian Gonzalez, not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good cornerbacks, but yeah, Christian Gonzalez will take away a side of the field. He'll play a boundary. He's not going to take away a wide
Yeah.
receiver, but he's not going to take away your slot. He just never plays the
I
slot.
see. I
So
think that plays so into the Bills' hands because everything they
yeah,
want to do is going to be yak underneath, and then they'll pick and choose their spots with Kincaid or a running back down the field. Like, yeah. So
that's why we
we'll see.
lose because we don't have an
Right.
ability to stop. We don't have a game plan or a player or anything to do about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first time in my life that the Bills have had an offense though that is like this. Like, there's no focal point. They don't care who gets the ball. Like, the play calling is awesome. Josh is playing out of his mind, and it's like, okay, good luck. Try to stop something. So it's been pretty cool, man. And the only thing that's really stopped them has been injuries. So we'll see. I guess we'll wrap it up with score predictions. We obviously know. I think we're both leaning Bills here, but what was your score prediction?
Probably I'm going to go 30 plus for the Bills, so I'll go 34 for the Bills. I think the Patriots struggle to score in this game and kind of get depressed and gassed pretty early and put up about 13, 14 points. So I'm going 34-13 as my official score prediction.
Okay. I haven't even honestly thought about it or given my score prediction yet.
But this segment of your own podcast surprised you?
Yeah. Well, I'll give that out at the end of tonight's show.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, that's what I'm going to struggle with is how much is the Patriots going to score? You know, I don't think this. I'm interested to see what the Bills defense brings out because I don't think the last 2 weeks are reflective of what they're capable of. I've seen signs of them kind of turning it around, and also some of that was game script. I mean, last week it was 21 points in the fourth quarter. A lot of that was game script. The Bills were up 3 scores, and it was trying to make Detroit.
But it's the
just eat
Lions.
Clock. Right, and it's the Lions. So it's like
now you got the
shame in
Patriots.
that. Right, and then the Rams, like, they played unbelievable. Like, Stafford, the throws he was making were just ridiculous.
Stafford's really good quarterback.
Right. So it's like, how much do I give, count against?
Yes, Cooper
the Bills
Kupp,
on
Puka
that?
Nakua, like McVay as his coach. If we had McVay, Puka Nakua, and Cooper Kupp, you should be just as scared of us as you are of the Rams. But we have Gerard Mayo, Kendrick Bourne, and Pop Douglas. Like, I mean,
yeah. So I find it hard to believe you guys would get over 20, but
we barely don't get over 20.
know.
That's been my biggest complaint of Drake May. As much as I'll glaze and love Drake May, under 20 points a game and a turnover a game. Clean that up. Get over 20 points a game and get rid of your 1 turnover a game. Although the last 2 weeks, blame Booty for his interception. The week before that, blame Hunter Henry for his interception. They have not been his turnovers the past 2 weeks.
The Bills force a lot of turnovers. Do you think we could see a defensive touchdown this week?
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Gonzalez has one on the year. There was a botched snap that he picked up and scored. They definitely could see a defensive touchdown this week. I would suspect it would be on the Bills side. And Drake May has been, like I said, been cleaner with the ball. So if I was a gambling person, I probably wouldn't put any money on a defensive touchdown this week.
Right.
But if you told me on Monday that there was a defensive touchdown scored, I'd be like, yeah, this is that type of cold weather, cough the ball up because you can't grip it with your hands type of game.
Right. That's what I'm thinking more of is because of that. All right. Well, I really appreciate you joining me. You want to tell people where they can find you, what you got coming up next, especially since we're going to see you guys again in 2 weeks. So,
yeah, a little early Christmas present for Bills fans having the Patriots match up against them twice in the next 3 weeks, twice in the next 3 weeks. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Pete_Collins_. I'm the host of the Fox Fellas Pod. So you can find us at Fox Fellas Pod. We're part of the Boston Sports Zone Network. So you can follow us on there. It's all on our link tree and on our Twitter. So go check us out and you can get some good Patriots content. We just did a podcast last night with Hans of Cover One going over this matchup just like you did here. We air Monday and Fridays at 7 p.m. So you come check us out. And thank you for having me. This has been a great discussion. We'll have to link back up again.
Yeah, man, really appreciate it. Yeah, maybe we can do the live show next week. On the live show, I do like a reverse power rankings and then also go over a lot of the games that are like AFC East and playoffs and stuff like that. So a little more than just talking Bills or Pats. So
yeah, absolutely. Would love to
link up. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much again to Pete for joining me. He was awesome, great guest. Um, and so yeah, the score prediction, man. I was caught. I kind of forgot that I was gonna do that with him versus do that live on the show. So I was caught a little off guard. I'd planned to figure it out and do it for tonight, but I've been gone back and forth. But I think 38-16 is about what I've settled on. Um, so we'll see. Blueprint to victory. I think for the Bills will be on offense is no turnovers. They've been playing really clean, not turning the ball over, and really like in these kind of games, that's how you make them close or lose them, right? Is the turnovers. So no turnovers, play a clean game, and then touchdowns in the red zone. Bills have been doing a good job converting in the red zone, and just keep that going. I think, like he had talked about, the Patriots struggle to score more than 20 points, and the Bills have been scoring 30 seemingly every week. So I think if they can keep that trend going, I don't think this Patriots team is equipped to get in a shootout. So I think touchdowns in the red zone are going to be the key. And then on defense, I think it's no explosive plays. Make them grind it. Make New England have to earn, and I think they'll make mistakes. And then, if they do get some drives going, just limit them to field goals only, um, and no touchdowns. And again, I think we should be able to get out of there with a nice win before Christmas. I thank you all for tuning in this week. I really appreciate it. Next up, we have the Sunday morning edition of No One to Blame at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Join Jesse, Kevin, and myself. It's a really fun show. Please come in, join us. You can ask your fantasy start sit questions, injury updates. We'll talk about all that. We'll happily help you with fantasy football advice. And then we give you our best bets. We give you our picks for the games. We don't go over every game, but we'll give you our best bets, our parlays, the Neffy special, which is a teaser, a 10-point teaser. We'll give you that, and then we do player props. So we'll give you 5 of our favorite player props. We'll do ladder bets. If you've never done ladder bets, they're really fun. It's you take a player prop and you progressively bet them up. So let's say for this game, like James Cook rushing, you do like 60 yards James Cook rushing, and then you bet every 10 yards. So 70 yards, 80 yards, 90 yards, 100 yards, and that would be the ladder. And we teach you how to progressively bet that. So if you hit the first rung, you essentially pay for all the rest of your bets, and it's a really fun way to root for games and for players, and to hopefully win a little bit of money. But with that, it's always gamble responsibly. Don't bet anything that you don't expect to lose. But it is a fun thing. So we'll go over that, and then we do daily fantasy as well. So we do FanDuel daily fantasy lineups. We give you each of our lineups, and then we'll talk strategy as well with that. So yeah, the fantasy football playoffs kick off for most people this week. So come in tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. and ask us your start sit questions, and come hang out. We love comments and questions. So hopefully we'll see you there tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on the Do Champions YouTube, Twitter, and I'll be posting it on my Twitter as well if you need the link. And then immediately after the Bills-Patriots game, join us for the Do Champions post-game show. You could find that on our YouTube and Twitter, Twitch, Instagram as well, Facebook. We'll give you our instant reaction and breakdown. The key moments of the game. I think Donnie is going to be hosting that one, and I'm not sure who else, but it should be a good one. You can always comment in that one, and feedback. Let us know your thoughts on the game, what you thought about it, and it's always a good time in the post-game show. I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Happy Holiday and Mackenzie Tree Farms, for supporting us. Please remember this holiday season to buy your real Christmas tree. Hopefully, you already have that. Christmas is here in a couple days. Getting pretty excited about that on Wednesday. Thank you all for tuning in. Please join me next Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for the next episode of the Buffalo Blueprint, where I'll be joined by a New York Jets guest, and we'll be breaking down the Week 17 matchup between the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. And that should be another good one. That's again next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Leave us a review on YouTube as well. Apple, Spotify, those all really help us. At Do Champions, and then myself at Jake FB Data. I wish you all a Merry Christmas if I don't see you tomorrow morning in the show. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, and go Bills. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Buffalo Blueprint. We will see you all next time.